All right, welcome everybody. My name is Dan, and we are Multiclass Act. And we are jumping today into our 4th episode of our Starfinder campaign and series. This wonderful group of people have finally managed to make themselves, or get themselves to the start of the game, I think. They're really...
Whoa, okay.
Excuse me? Tutorial.
We woke up and it was all a dream.
Title.
Listen, you just spoiled the end of the campaign.
Oh, no.
Right there.
Man.
No. So we can just roll credits now, call it a day, and everybody can... No, I'm joking. So, we've successfully managed to get through some of the growing pains, we think, of our first couple of episodes. I say very, very boldly and brazenly, hoping nothing breaks in the next 10 minutes. But we'll see how it goes. Do any of you guys have anything to say right now? We don't have much to really talk about as far as announcements goes or anything like that. No? Everybody's squared away? Did everybody level up?
Yes.
You got all
Yes,
your feats? Everybody do hit points? If you... Well, we don't roll in this one. You just get them.
You just
Yeah.
get
Which is
it.
pretty fantastic.
Fantastic.
So everybody's
Really
feeling a
too
bit
long
more,
to figure that out.
bit more alive.
Why is it just updated?
My
I don't
drone
want
has
that.
like 10 more hit points than me.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that could just be your durable go fight him kind of robot. No, fantastic. So without further ado then, I suppose we can hop into today's actual episode of our Starfinder game. Where we last left off, the group had successfully managed to commandeer an old derelict vessel known as the Gant, a rather large ship, all things considered. Far larger than most new crews have access to, you're pretty quickly learning, as you've seen a couple of ships that have existed out in the world that are much smaller, much more reserved, much less capable perhaps, where you have this blank canvas on display, ready to be used to do all sorts of crazy stuff. I hope. I can let everybody at the table, aside from Cam, know that Cam is actually working on a map for us, which I've seen, Meg has kind of seen. It's going to be pretty spectacular, I think, in the future. It's sort of above-table stuff here, but putting his cartography skills to work, we're hopefully going to have a pretty cool map in the future. So having successfully taken over this ship, the Gant, and making your way to Absalom Station using the sort of coordinates that you were given, you were contacted before you arrived at Absalom Station, saying that the coordinates you have weren't quite right. They need to be slightly doctored in a way, because the station has moved, perhaps. It's been several hundred years, it seems, since the Gant has been back at Absalom Station. And the stewards, who you would all know to be the sort of interplanetary police within the Pack World systems, asked you very politely to bring the ship to a slightly new location, which you agreed to. You don't want to upset the fuzz too much if you can avoid it. However, when the Gant burst out of the drift, right near Absalom Station, you were greeted staring down the guns of a rather large battleship, and immediately were hailed on the comm that you needed to surrender. You needed to shields down, weapons down, and prepare to be boarded very, very shortly, which, as I'm sure, has caught everybody off guard. Where we're going to pick up today is still staring at the very large, we're trying to kind of go back in time a second here, staring at the large face on display. This steward, captain, or commander of some kind with their distinctive blue armor, the name Roland written on her uniform, has demanded that you lower your shields, that you prepare your shuttle bay or airlock for boarding, and you can already see through one of the little viewfinders of your ship that there is a small diminutive shuttle on the way already. But looking down at your ship through the comms display you guys have, she's very stern. And if I recall correctly, some of you put your hands up even, as if to sort of placate her and not get too upset. Staring at you, who put their hands up actually? I think it was you specifically. Yeah. So this Captain Roland looks at you, sort of makes eye contact with you as best they can through this weird mystical bridge communication system that we're going to say is a real-time FaceTime conversation because it's way easier that way. Looks at you. That's the right idea. Everyone else should do the same when my crew arrives. No funny business, please. We have many questions for you.
You will find answers, ma'am. Don't you worry. Put your hands up.
Maku's only going to put his top 2 hands up.
That's fine. That's good enough.
I'll follow suit.
Oh, boy.
Certainly. So everybody just sort of goes to placate her a little bit. And once enough of you start to sort of show that you're not going to be too much problems, she thinks, the view screen does finally turn off. And at around the same time, you can hear the proximity sensor, knowing that there's a ship nearby preparing to maybe not dock with your ship, because this ship doesn't have a docking tube, but to get nearby, to come across in the same way you guys did when you first took the ship. You probably have a couple of minutes to spare before you're actually going to be boarded proper. So I want to pass it off to you and ask if you have anything you want to do or any preparations you want to make, up to and including arming yourselves, but well, that's up to you.
Is anyone in trouble with the stewards?
Not personally, but it doesn't seem like they're too concerned with that at the moment. I don't know.
I've never met any stewards before.
No.
They're. I mean, you can see out the front view. They pack some pretty good heat. So just if you have anything that could hurt somebody, just put it away for the time being if you can help it.
Do they need something cold?
You're very clever. No.
No?
No, I'm gonna say no.
So they like being hot.
They like going in blazing, as it were. Yep. So just let them blaze and let the blaze pass over you. Heat rises, right? Okay. So, just be nice. That's all I'm saying.
I'm always nice.
Yeah. Yes, you are. Just keep being yourself.
Okay.
Maybe tone it down just slightly. Like let them lead the conversation.
Yeah. But also don't give up too much information, right?
Yeah.
Like we're trying to walk a fine line here, right? We're looking out for ourselves.
But don't be too standoffish either, though.
Yeah, you have 6 arms. There's a lot of juggling to do.
Yep.
Just keep everything in the air, as it were.
Be upfront, but don't give them anything they don't ask for.
Be a team player.
Act natural.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got this, Maku.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got this.
Nival, I know you're in love with your sword. Are you? Is it out right now?
Yeah. No, understood. And she'll walk away and go put it in her room.
Okay.
Just as soon as you leave, Percival, the little hologram, appears in the center of the bridge, looking somewhat a bit perplexed even. Excuse me, I have a question for those who were here.
Yeah.
As soon as we came out of the drift, I started receiving messages from the infosphere itself. I think of Absalom Station, and I wanted to know if I had permission to connect to it. Perhaps garner some more information about this place. It's been some time since I've really got to speak to anything other than the Myoposis. But I do need your authority to do so.
I think that's wise.
Yeah,
But
please
do it quietly, right? Privately.
Certainly.
You're
yes.
probably 300 years overdue for an upgrade too. I'm sure there's a couple patches out there somewhere.
Could be the case.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Make it happen if you can. Yeah. Don't talk to Roland.
Understood. Should I try my best to not make my presence known?
For the time
Yes.
being, yeah. She might ask, and in which case we gotta, turn our pockets out. But
Standard communications protocols only.
What do you
I will
say?
just start a software update then.
okay. Bye.
Perfect.
Disappears from the hologram.
Yeah.
You head off to put off your sword. What's everybody else doing?
Just gonna look over and see what you do. You have to get software updates?
No. The nanites in my body are all that I need.
Oh. 'Cause it would,
No software involved.
it would be pretty cool if you could get the software update.
It would be pretty cool. Nival might get a software update. I'm not sure.
I should ask them when they get back.
I'm just gonna sit in the pilot's seat, just kind of like, is it swivelly?
I would say no, not by design, but I imagine if you
If you swivel, it'll swivel.
If you swivel it, yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna stay put and just twiddle my thumbs, as it were. Try to look as least threatening as a 8-foot bear can.
Sure, yeah.
I'm standing in front of the console. So not sitting behind it, but standing in front of it, just waiting.
Just waiting, okay.
Keep my eyes on the hall.
I'm gonna go down into the shuttle bay and open the door and wave them in.
Mm-hmm. So just as the time as you walk by to go to the crew's quarters to put your sword away, I imagine, you can look out through the shuttle bay or one of the sort of windows or viewports. You can see this diminutive shuttle working its way towards you, about the same size as the Moat, give or take. That dreadful ship that you've left behind, but coming to bring a small crew, probably maybe 10 people at most could fit on the shuttle comfortably, if they were lucky.
Like, take them.
And you sort of pass by, and as you return from dropping off your sword, the two of you are both in the shuttle bay at around the time that you could see that the ship's, the little thrusters have brought it to a halt just a few feet away from the edge of your ship, and they're ready to make the little hop across. To the point you even hear a very faint, muffled knock, as they're literally knocking on the door to your spaceship to try to get it open. Now, the two of you are among the only people who could, if you wanted to, choose to vent the entire shuttle bay to allow them in, or you could use the airlock to use it properly. It's entirely up to you, of course, but you're about to be boarded. What do the two of you want to do?
Yeah, I'd look at it.
Whatever's speedier. I don't think we need to vent the whole shuttle
No,
bay.
airlock.
Just like airlock.
Certainly. So when the shuttle bay or the airlock finally opens, the first thing you're greeted by is a very large green-scaled Vesk, wearing a pretty ostentatious suit of blue armor. Immediately, one thing you notice is they're not carrying any weapons. They seem as if they're, despite the armor, relatively friendly looking, or trying their best. Now, CV2, you definitely recognize that there's a badge or an emblem on the side of this Vesk's uniform that is a dashko or dashko. It's the weird four-bladed sort of pole arm weapon that the Vesk are known for using, but this one has a fifth blade on it, and you would know, given some things that you know, this signifies someone who is a paramount, expert, paragon user of one of these weapons.
Okay.
Or at least that's what they're trying to display. Immediately behind them, there are 4 other guards. Each of them are completely uniform. They're blending in amongst themselves. They're wearing the blue, gold, and black armor that the stewards are typically known for. Each of them is carrying a laser rifle in their hand. They clearly know how to handle themselves, but are not approaching you aggressively or violently. They're just standing behind this large Vesk, who takes a couple of steps forwards, looks at the two of you in the eyes, and good to see you have no weapons, as we asked. Take me to your bridge, please. I, Commander Ursula.
This way, follow me, please. Starts going.
Would I know the name of the rank of that dashko?
Yeah, so you would know, excuse me, that doesn't really carry an actual name or rank to it. It's just that the dashko, the weapon itself, doesn't have 5 blades, and this is like a mental...
The mental fifth blade.
Yeah, exactly. This is someone who's very accomplished.
Okay.
Probably. Very likely.
Perfect.
So following your lead, you enter into the bridge just a few steps away, and the rest of you who are on display watch as this large and imposing Vesk, who's probably near to your size, which means very large for a Vesk, because they're not as big as uplifted bears. But they come striding into the chamber, clearly with a sense of authority and purpose to them, as they sort of look over everything. Now, where did you find this ship? How did you get it? And where is the real captain? I can see that they're not here. We've had a call out for this ship for quite a long time. Who'd you steal it from?
Well, by quite a long time, if you mean like hundreds of years, that adds up.
We do.
Okay.
Yes.
We were formerly residents of the Mayaposis. Perhaps you've heard of it?
It's a name I've heard, yes.
Well, we didn't see it happen, but we suspect that this ship was part of that conglomerate of ships. We were off the ship at the time that it was destroyed, and when we made our way back, this was one of the few remnants that we could actually safely use to kind of get back to civilization, let's say.
Well, it is good that you came back, and yet perhaps troublesome that you found this ship. We've had had an alert for the Gant for well over 300 years, before the gap even occurred, when the Starfinder Society found ourselves, well, on the other side of that period of foggy history. This was one of many ships that had an alert. Be on the lookout for was the Gant. And here it is. When we saw it approaching, couldn't help ourselves but try to speak to who found it. Is Is the renegade Kurgat still on board somewheres?
I don't know who that is.
I'm pretty sure he died.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation. You're gonna need a lot more context than what you've got right now. My name's Thurgood Vale. Pleasure to meet you. You are
Commander Ursula.
pleased to meet you, Commander.
And they don't shake your hand.
I kind of shake the name for a second. Hi. So the Myoposis suffered a pretty significant attack that sort of demolished all of its superstructure, and we employed the Gant as a kind of a lifeboat, a getaway ship. We did not steal it. There was no battle. There was no struggle for this. It was unoccupied when we found it. Kurgat is a name I've definitely heard on the Myoposis. There are very likely very, very few survivors of the Myoposis. It was destroyed by some large spacefaring construct sphere, as Doc is indicating.
Kind of like a jellyfish. Got some tentacles going on.
It did have tentacles as well.
Very radioactive.
Extremely radioactive.
You can see they're just absorbing everything. I'm making facial expressions, but they are stonewalling.
Yeah.
As best they can.
Oh, I remembered something. Wasn't Kurgat the one that called us and told us that we were stuck on the planet when we asked for help?
I believe so.
So
Yeah.
maybe they got away.
That's true. The only conclusive evidence we have of death among any of the officers of the Myoposis was the big slug friend. Do we know who that was? I sure don't. It's been a whirlwind couple
We
days.
should know who that was.
I don't think you as players should know who that is.
We've
No.
heard.
We
Oh
heard a
no, we
name.
did speak to Manifestor Kurgat. Said leave the planet as fast as we can. The Myoposis is headed for the drift.
Rulana keeps very organized notes.
Yeah.
Good memory.
Yeah.
Good memory, yeah.
Commander, we were just one of the teams of losers on the Myoposis who were on a mission to the surface of Ceravos. Our job was to acquire some Formian honey, which you'll see down in our cargo hold. You've probably already scanned, and you can see it's the only thing we've got on board.
No. The cargo hold is full of junk
Full of
too.
junk.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
We've got
Yeah.
Formian honey and a cargo
Space
full of
drifted through.
crap.
And several thousand tons of scrap metal, but that's all legal.
That's another story.
I did really good on that one.
Right of salvage, shall we say. Yeah, so that's all we are. We don't know much more about the circumstances that surround us. We don't know why the Gant would be special, other than that it's old. And used to be at the center of the Myoposis, which is now no more.
And the shipboard AI should be able to confirm everything we're telling you, Commander. It's been out of the world for a while. It's probably doing some kind of reconnection, upgrade, something.
A Percy who's about 2 centuries out of date at least, if not longer.
You can see for the first time a little bit of a twitch in the eye occurs when you mention Percy and being very, very old, but not much more than that, as Ursula sort of looks over the lot of you. This is the kind of conversation that the first Seeker needs to be a part of. My job was to make sure you weren't here armed, armored, and ready for a fight. It's a good thing the Redoubt doesn't need to blow this ship up. This is a relic, and should stay as such. You're being given clearance to dock with Absalom Station. Make your way to Far Dock and then Lower Spire Complex after that. I'll arrange for the first Seeker to have a detail greet you. Welcome back to civilization, and they loosen their posture a little bit. Sorry for all the pomp and circumstance.
No problem, Commander. We appreciate your magnanimity.
That's the word.
We're grateful and we understand you're just doing your job, right?
So you said we're meeting the first Seeker?
Yes.
What's their name?
First Seeker, you. Now, it's a weird one. This is above table stuff. It's spelled E-H-U, but said you. Yeah.
All right. And then I'll say in Vesk, Commander, I'll take you back to your shuttle.
And in Vesk, which you would all hear is this
That's
guttural.
what
Yeah, it's basically sounds like, I don't know, Germans impersonating alligators, maybe.
Cool.
Yeah, pretty great. But they graciously thank you for taking them back to their shuttle. And you also hear in Vesk, which they're speaking to their crew or their guards who are with them, who are probably not Vesk themselves. But in Vesk, they say to them, don't bother searching the whole ship. They did scan it. There's nothing else on here they need to worry about. And it's pretty apparent that if there was a real problem, they could probably blast the ship off the edge of space and no problem. So with that, just a few moments goes by, and Commander Ursula and her 4 guards leave on board their little shuttle, heading back towards the enormous battleship, the Redoubt. Now, already you're given clearance and directions and coordinates as where to dock the Gant in Absalom Station. It'll take you a little bit of time to get there. But you can see that as soon as their ship leaves, the giant battleship, the Redoubt, starts to sort of drift upwards, as if they're clearing the path for you. You get your first real good look at Absalom Station. Now, some of you have been here before, but for those of you who haven't, this station is a couple of miles across. It's actually smaller than the Mayaposis even really was, all of its constituent pieces put together. But it's shaped kind of like a star with a spike on the top and the bottom. Most everybody who lives in Absalom Station lives somewhere in that middle disk area, with the exception of the extraordinarily wealthy and the extraordinarily poor, who live either on the top or the bottom of the disk, really depending on where you are. The far-flung reaches, or the edges of this disk, is where many of the various ships will dock. Now, those of you who are familiar with the area would definitely know that there's some neighborhoods and some dockyards and shipyards you probably don't want to dock in, because your cargo might walk away or your whole ship might get torn to pieces by we'll say, eager mechanics, to say the least, who are trying to push that extended warranty on you by breaking the ship for you and then telling you they can fix it. The Far Dock is not one of those places. It's a quiet and reserved area of Absalom Station that probably won't have too many issues, you hope. You can also see that Far Dock, at least according to the schematics you were given, Far Dock is the closest to where you are now. It will only take you maybe 5 or 6 minutes to sort of use your diminutive thrusters to get yourself into Far Dock properly without crashing into the station, and hopefully that's not something CV2 will do. As soon as your ship is prepared to actually move and the Redoubt sort of disappears, Percival reappears. Sort of, and you can see he's taken on a bit of a different form. He's still the little halfling, although the sort of slightly grainy holographic image is much more solidified now, as if not only was there a software update, but perhaps even a hardware update somehow, as if he's gaining more access to the ship. But he looks over all of you. Is everything good? Is no problems? The Gant, as I understand, has been removed from the world for some time, and well, there's no issues, is there?
Not at the moment. No. It went better than I thought it would.
First of all, were you concerned that there would be issues?
Yes.
And you did not inform us?
Well, I probably should have told you who was reaching out to me when we arrived out of the drift. How do I put this? It was me. It was me. It seemed as if we were getting bombarded by messages from Percival, which is me. So when I asked if I could speak to it or them, I was just trying to reconnect. But I've learned some things. It seems as if the Percy that you're aware of may actually just be me. Just despite my absence for some time. It seems as if I think the first seeker that was mentioned needs to be spoke to a bit more, but it would seem as if some form of my consciousness may be the very sort of search engine you all have been used to for some time.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you've gone on a whole journey of self-discovery in the time it took us to talk to some cops.
Well, I had a few minutes.
Yeah. Fair enough. That might be all you need. Yeah. Damn.
You said something about messages as well. Were they just for you, or was there something for the previous owner of the ship? What did you learn?
Just for me, and actually a message for Thurgood, weirdly enough.
Oh.
Would you like to take it here?
Well, I have to. Hey, well, is it from And I like mouth out the letters SYNT.
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Yep. Yeah. Could you page that over to my my private quarters?
Absolutely. Yes,
right.
I'll do so.
Thank you,
It's
Percy.
rather lengthy, though. It may be better to wait a time, but I can't tell you to not do things, of course.
No, that's fair. Well, I'll. You know what? I'm sick of piloting this ship. Somebody else can do it anyway. Maku, you're in charge. Yeah, and I go to my room and I will address it when appropriate.
Certainly. So you head off. Everybody else, you got a couple of minutes to kill. Still with Percy as Thurgood leaves.
Percy, this ship has been out of commission for some time, as you mentioned.
Yes.
But apparently there's been an alert on it since well before that.
Yes, I may have been a little bit withholding from all you when we first met. Kurgit, or Commander Kurgit, or Manifester Kurgit, or Cognifier Kurgit, or whichever name you want to give him, was somewhat of an outlaw.
Oh.
At least is my understanding. And that may be why there was an alert for this ship for all these years. But it had to have occurred before this gap I've now learned about. So I'm really unsure. Perhaps the people who put out the alert would know more. This first seeker, Hugh, may be able to give some insight.
Well, I mean, sounds like the best place to start.
Is this first seeker part of the Starfinder Society?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, you asking that as like, oh, geez. You asking that to Percy or
Both.
both? Yeah. So above table, the first seeker is the leader, the nominal leader of the Starfinder Society. It's like an elected position that exists, and there's someone who has a pretty good amount of power and sway for sure. Yep.
We also have to find Tazavir of the Starfinder Society.
I'm sure we can get connected.
Yes.
Okay.
They mentioned this ship being made a relic. We may just want to make sure to take anything that we're really attached to with us. We may not get the ship back.
Do we want to take weapons and armor into?
Who's been here before?
I have not.
Would I have been there before?
Probably not. No.
I passed through here once about a week ago.
What did you see people wearing?
Everything you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, you would know that you would be allowed to carry your weapons and armor most places, with the exception of the few places you clearly wouldn't be. Like if you go in to talk to the leader of an organization, in most places all around the universe, you can't bring your guns in. But when you're walking through the streets of space stations and planets and things, you're generally allowed to bring your stuff with you. Generally. And here is no exception.
Suit up.
Sure.
Well, I'm just going to keep my stuff in my drone. I really don't want to put on my clothes.
Oh, if it all fits in your drone, that's fine.
Will somebody carry my lock for me? It is really big.
I'm going to go put on my armor.
Before we go see, if we have time, before we go see this first seeker, should you try and figure out what's going on with this cargo that we've got?
Buffering.
Are we?
So, do we want to try and arrange for this scrap metal? Were we going to use it to modify a chair, or did we just want to sell it, or?
Oh, I couldn't find any parts, but I think that if we could do some trading or some selling, and we could find a part.
Yes, I would love to try
Yes,
flying.
it is really fun.
Gotta get those weapons mounted too.
Yes, if we're keeping the ship.
Yeah.
If we're able to keep the ship.
I think we're able to. No one wants it yet.
Well, yeah.
They would have taken it if they were going to take it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Okay, so as you guys are making these plans, Thurgood's going off. I want to get to that, if that's okay.
Yep.
So Thurgood, you go to your private quarters and try to jam yourself into the room with a double wide bed in it, and queue up the little console to receive your message. I will say a couple things. As soon as this message does start to play, or the conversation plays, you all can hear it. Okay? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no.
It's just
It's a Thurgood. Fuck.
Yeah, Thurgood is frustrated. But as you guys can't see what Thurgood sees, however, okay?
Can I peek in because I'm going down to my room anyway?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I am keeping an eye out.
So yeah, I imagine you sort of know that there is Nivel sort of clinking around
Yeah, clink, clink, clink.
in the background.
Piss off, respectfully.
I am getting my sword.
All right. It's not in here. Yeah.
He's just like lean against the wall and cross my arms, like right outside his view.
No big ass ship and there's no privacy.
Can I ask how we hear him?
Yeah, it's being played through the comm essentially, but just the audio.
Yeah.
Because maybe Percival's kind of a jerk. We'll see. As you look on yours, the screen comes to life, and you see a sight you're all too familiar with seeing. It's essentially just like from the nose down of a face of someone sitting back in a very poorly lit or really properly lit by design sort of video feed, where all you can see is this big grinning face with pearlescent white teeth, and from about here up is completely blacked out by the light. With a bit of a grin on their face, you all will hear, but you will definitely see, how's my favorite sales bear doing? How's the ticker?
Just peachy. Ticking along.
Fantastic. I got some good news for you.
Yeah.
Good?
Lay it on me.
Yeah, you finally earned yourself a spot, I think, in live reporting. No more selling and hawking these bullshit wares, which we all know are bullshit.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, live reporting, you say? What kind of, what flavor?
Well, there's a...
Oh, boy.
Yeah, oh boy, you're gonna like it. I think it might be right up your alley.
Sure, go
Maybe
on.
even some of your new friends that I'm starting to learn that you got. Anyway, Tourney Corporation is starting up a new tournament coming pretty soon. Huh? And there's a new contender, a little bot named Blue.
Blue.
Yeah, they're building a name for themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, some might even say that they might be able to take a run at N2. The current champion hasn't had to defend it for well over 20 years.
Yeah. Hardly any competition.
Well, there hasn't been. They've been sort of like little bugs under a rug for some time, but they're opening back up again. We need you to go to Apostate. Have you been there?
Nah, I haven't exactly heard good things about it, but...
No, it's a terrible place.
Yeah.
But that's why they're fighting there. Perfect spot for you. That's where Blue is. That's where they're doing their training.
Yeah.
Whenever you get a moment, now that you're back in the real world,
Right.
you should head out that way.
You got it. Yep.
Listen, you do this, you do a good enough job. Perhaps I'll make you stop selling this bullshit and find you some more investigatory work to do.
Investigation is my middle name. Thurgood Investigation Vale. You got it. Anything, pal. Yeah, sounds good. I'll fit into my schedule. Yeah.
I absolutely love how just good you are at this. Thurgood, do you know that?
It's in the name. Thurgood.
Yeah. It makes it so I don't need to mess with you any.
No.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Blue is going to be gone from Apostate, I think, sometime in the next few weeks.
Okay. So, like, what, 3 weeks, let's say?
Sure.
Window. Okay.
Well, you know what turns off if you don't get there. So
Yep.
Make it happen.
Yep. Can do.
All right, bye. And it just turns off very unceremoniously, leaving you alone in your room for some time.
Yep.
I will say you can hear a faint buzz of static in the ship-wide communications. There's that faint zzz, which after about 3 or 4 seconds of the buzz, you hear a whoops.
I will add, as soon
if-
as Toko is mentioned, you hear like Nivel's gears grinding anxiously. You just literally hear her like a computer, like whirring. I'm still outside your view.
A moment later, after the buzz stops, Percival appears on the little hollow screen.
I reach for his throat.
Right on through.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure out what the new sort of capabilities that I...
No, don't. You're full of shit. Come on. Pea bag. Get out of here.
It's Percival.
Get out of here.
Now you've learned.
Sick of it.
Oh!
All right.
I like Percival.
Did he call him pea bag?
Yeah.
He
I
called
will.
him lots of things.
What part of respectfully piss off don't you understand?
We cannot go there.
We, I guess the collective we, maybe. It's all up to you, but I think I have a choice.
Now she will actually like stand in and peek in.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, it's just to stop being such a,
In case you didn't notice, it was broadcasted across the ship anyway. At
Either
least
way.
I had the balls to let you know I was listening.
Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're here. You heard that, and I mean, you got a nice hat, nice Toko hat. Do you not?
Maybe now is not the time to continue to have this conversation, but
I mean, we don't get to pick and choose who hears our conversations.
I said have the conversation.
Oh man. Well, pick a time and date. Gotta fit it into my schedule before the next 3 weeks. So, you know, if we need to have a tough conversation, it's gotta happen before the month is out.
I understand that this isn't an option for you. In all due respect, I'm not trying to make your life harder.
Right. Well, thank you. But I don't know. I feel like I'm in a catch-22. Can't talk about it right now, but now I kind of need to know like what the issue is. Like, man.
All right.
We
If
got
you
5
want
minutes till we dock. Maku's up at the helm. We have 5 minutes to
precisely
live.
why I don't believe we have the time. But the short of it is, if I go there, it may be a lot more complicated than you were hoping.
I mean, that's just kind of the pain of being known, isn't it? I mean, we're all kind of stuck here, and I'm sure, you know, I mean, my presence complicates everyone else's life here, and you're, I don't know. It's just a nasty little puzzle.
When did Toko come back?
I wouldn't know anything about that.
You wouldn't know too much about it.
Yeah.
It's something you've heard. Like if I mentioned American Gladiator, we'd all know that it existed. But when was it last on?
Yeah.
None of us really know the answer to that question. Sometime. So, well over 25 years ago, at least according to the face on the screen.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I mean, corpses go up and down. That's just, you know, shell companies, offshore funds, off-galaxy funds. It's just kind of, you know, it all moves around and nobody's really accountable to anybody, so it doesn't surprise me.
And
Yeah,
a
I do.
part of this agreement, you're just going to film the fight?
Investigative reporting. I gotta find this blue, I gotta pick their brain, gotta see how they feel about the fight with N2.
Yep.
N2, and I don't know. They want a name and a face on the ground, and it's gotta be me. Gotta be.
Okay. And just turns and walks.
All right. See you, Nival.
Simultaneously, as this conversation happening, all four of you were in the bridge, having heard all that conversation, but only really one side of it.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Whether or not we could hear Thurgood or
No,
just the...
You just heard
Okay.
you just heard the disembodied voice. You didn't see the creepy half face or hear his side of the conversation.
Was that face humanoid?
Yes, human for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you would even know who that is. I can give you the name if you want.
Yeah,
for sure.
just message me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're piloting the ship at this moment. In the intervening couple of minutes, hopefully their conversation isn't going to be ended by the sound of the ship crashing into the station. But do you guys want to have any conversations about what occurred as you're giving me a piloting check to bring the Gant into the dock over the course of the next couple of minutes?
Sounds like there's a larger conversation to be had here.
Seems like there's many conversations
I'm
to
gonna-
be had.
I want to turn to the doc and say, sounds like he's got a kill switch built into his heart. Ever hear about that sort of thing?
Wouldn't be hard.
Why, you need one?
What about taking it out?
Might be harder. It's easy to kill. Any doctor knows that it's easy to kill.
That's true.
It's harder to keep people alive.
Just hold it up.
I got an 8.
Okay.
Total.
God. A natural one.
Carry on.
It wasn't that one, though.
Oh my god.
That's okay. There's no automatic failure from that one.
Smash.
It just means that you might have a new dent in the ship.
This is just cementing that Nivel's going to be the pilot.
I got too distracted by listening to
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
That's probably exactly what happened. So as you guys are sort of having this conversation, you guys are finishing up yours, getting ready to head back to the bridge. Maku, you are piloting the Gant and are in fact a little bit distracted. You managed to not so much crash into Fardock as much as you, will say, aggressively park.
skid like
At the very least. There's these like giant retracting arms, articulating arms that come out to grab the nose of the ship to sort of hold it in place And they have quite a bit of give to them, but they're supposed to keep the ship reasonably far away from the side of the station itself, and you've just sort of compressed them to the point where there's not really any more give to the ship. Finally, you will definitely, the two of you will feel as you're heading back this distinct bonk. As it's not a crash, but it's certainly not a crash either, if that makes any sense. But the two of you come back to the bridge right now, just as Maku, you sort of like holding on to the controls. Having successfully managed to dock with Absalom Station, you can hear the sounds of the gears of the tubery. That makes sense? The airlock being extended out from Absalom Station to stick onto the side of the Gant to allow you to go freely between the station and the ship. And within a minute or two, it'll be ready to go. I want to ask you what sort of preparations you want to do before you head into the station to hopefully meet the first seeker.
Percival?
Yes?
Can we secure this ship for while we're off it? We have to go have some meetings, but we'd like to keep others from taking possession of it while we're out of...
Absolutely, yes, I can do that.
Fantastic.
I can set up... how many factors of authentication do we want, given our earlier conversation? Let's go with 3-factor authentication that will allow you back on the ship. It is, however, not entirely foolproof, and I'm sure if someone really, really wanted to, they may be able to garner access to the ship, but our security systems on board the Gant are robust.
Okay.
Do you think it's safe that I leave my lock here?
If you put it in the cargo hold, almost certainly.
Wouldn't that be the first place they would look for it?
But it might blend in.
Maybe I should just take it with me.
I have no say on the matter or opinion. It's entirely up to you.
Percival, can we arrange some kind of buyer for the scrap metal? Can we do that kind of automatically, like go through like a list of buyers who are looking for stuff?
Yes, when I contacted myself upon arriving, I have found a great deal of potential sources, places to offload all this scrap, as well as potential shops or places for you to meet contacts, all through at Absalom Station. In fact, in Little Ackerton, there could very well be a place to offload all of the scrap right away.
Okay. Hey, you still have that tablet thing, right?
Yep.
Maku? Could we get a map of Absalom Station updated onto this thing or anything?
Sure, yeah. I can actually show you guys a map.
Sweet.
Exciting.
I think.
Hey,
Bottom camera.
I think the bottom camera froze.
Did we freeze again?
It looked like it when we popped that open.
Puddles?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's called puddles.
Nice. It did freeze.
Definitely not doing that.
It happens.
As is tradition. All right, we should
Dang
the freezing
Okay.
sound.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
make sure we're back up.
It's pretty far behind.
That's okay.
Let's see if you're gonna get the count right on time. Hey,
Yeah, we're moving.
Okay, we're live.
yeah. So you guys are essentially landing here in Fardock,
Okay.
in this little district here, and the place you're going is Lower Spire Complex, right over here. Now, Absalom Station as a whole is not a big place. Like, you could get across it in just an hour or two at the best, even if you were stopping to sniff all of the synthetic roses on the way. So it won't take you very long to get to where you're going. Okay, I'm going to move this map down just so we can make sure the camera doesn't freeze again. Boop-a-doo. Okay. Yes, so I can even arrange for you, if you would like, to perhaps find a buyer for the scrap that you have found in your cargo hold, although I will say my negotiation skills are probably not as good as some others. So I cannot guarantee the best price, but I can get you a price at the very least.
Could you put some pins on the map where people that we might sell to are, and we can go have a chat maybe?
Absolutely, yes. I will prepare that for your return.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I just get switched into my business casual. Repping my...
The rest of us have geared up and
My-
you
Yeah,
switched into your
Yeah, no,
casual.
I haven't.
I'm taking a load off. We're off
Oh,
ship.
yeah.
I'm not gonna. I'm not carrying any weapons besides my my claws.
Okay.
I have taken all of my gear, which is pretty much just consolidated in a backpack, and the space, like, it looks like a leather jacket and pants, so it's not hugely.
Yeah, you're not like ready for a war.
No.
I mean, you are, but doesn't look it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would add similarly, like she has her armor but not on. It's like just hooked onto her, I guess, but she would have her sword up.
Okay. Certainly.
Maku is in the nude.
In the buff.
The most comfortable way. Yep.
Not even has a scarf on?
Yeah, he probably has a scarf.
Oh, good. Decency.
Thank
God, I can see your neck. Oh.
Scarf and some socks.
Oh no, definitely not socks.
So making your way off of the Gant through the little airlock that has been extended out from the station, you immediately are hit by the somewhat refreshing, at least better recycled air that stations have compared to ships. It becomes readily apparent when the sort of wash of air blasts through the airlock. It's almost like you're standing on the surface of a proper planet, as opposed to being in a completely manufactured station somewheres in the blackness of space. But as you step through the airlock, you immediately start to take in some of the hustle and bustle of even this sort of remote area of Absalom Station. Fardock is one of the farthest away and quietest areas, and yet there are still dozens of people milling about. For the most part, the people who are here on Fardock, the ones you're seeing at least, are all somewhat rough and tumble, we'll say. They look as if I'll just come flat out and say it, they're probably members of some street gangs within Absalom Station. And all of them are sort of looking at you with a bit of a wary eye, but immediately sizing you up and realizing that they can't possibly bother with you. So they're not going to. Just waves. As you walk out into the sort of main corridor of Fardock, you can see at the far end of it, literally the last possible area, essentially, of Absalom Station, beyond being the void of space, there's a large green doorway. And this is like almost looks like a portal, like a force field of a doorway at the end of this hallway. Standing beside it are a pair of giant constructed guardian-like creations that kind of look like what we would envision a sphinx to be, although with bipedal legs. And the two of them are standing motionless at the end of this hallway. You can also see there's a sort of, it appears like a custodial staff, like a bunch of janitors, essentially, who are hanging out, looking at the people who are in these gangs. And there's a sort of weird triangular standoff. You can just feel the tension in the air between these gang people, these two weird statues, and the pack of janitors. But none of them are paying you any too much attention as you sort of stride on out into the corridor. You know where Lorespire Station is, or Lorespire Complex is. It won't take you too long to get there, but even before you start to head off, one of these little gang members makes a run past you, as if they're just blowing by, to head towards this big green portal at the end. As you sort of instinctually move out of the way a little bit to let them go by, this young, athletic, probably in their like mid-20s, we'll say, human gang member with these sort of red and blue striped uniform or clothing, bolts on past and makes a jump, literally diving past the now swinging and animated arms of these two sphinx-like constructs at the end, as if they're trying to stop him from getting by. As he does, he hits a somersault, tumbles into a somersault, stands up, reaches out towards this great big green portal, and as it does, those of you who are kind of watching out of the corner of your eye notice all the janitor staff sort of and start to prepare their equipment as if they know what's about to happen and you don't. As soon as this young gang tough reaches out and touches the edge of the portal, you feel a blast wave, a pressure wave wash down the chamber. And carrying with it is what can really only be described as the spaghettified remains of this young gang tough who went reaching for the door. It blows completely past the two sphinx-like guardians to a call out, a cheer of "Wah!" from all of the gang friends, as the guy didn't quite make it. The janitor staff, one of them, as you're like taking in the scene, one of the janitorial people sort of comes up beside you with a mop in hand, getting ready to clean up the spaghettified remains of this poor guy with a simple, "If you kindly get out of the way, please. I'm gonna clean this up."
Well, yeah, buddy. No problem. But like, what's going on here?
Ask them. They're the idiots who want to try to get through the friggin' door. My goodness. Move. Come on. Scooch.
All right.
Maku's gonna
How many today?
immediately.
Well, you ask him how many today?
Yeah.
This will be the third one. Today. Oh, in the last 24 hours, I suppose.
Has anyone made it?
No.
What's on the
Where
other
are they
side?
making it?
Ask them. They have all kinds of theories. I just want to clean up the hallway, please.
The first time he said that, Maku has already started to run towards the gang members to ask them.
So you head off towards the gang members. You guys are sort of collectively being sort of shoved out of the way by the small pack of janitors who are starting to clean up the remains of this guy. As Maku goes running over to these gang toughs. When they see you coming, they put on great big smiles on their faces. The youngest one might be like maybe 16, 17 kind of thing. And there's a couple of old dogs there who might be in their like 30s or 40s. There's a pretty wide spread. There's a couple of orcs, half-orcs, humans, dwarves, elves. There's maybe 10 of them gathered about. And you can definitely see that while they don't have a uniform, they certainly have some color preferences that they enjoy to wear. And as you come running up and approaching, they sort of look down at you. One of them looks down towards you. Well, aren't you just a little ball of fun?
Oh, I try to be.
It's a pleasure to absolutely meet you. Zubak's my name. What's yours?
Oh, my name is Maku Makadin.
Where are you coming from? With your friends? Did you see our buddy? He didn't make it, did he?
Yeah, no, he didn't. He turned into spaghetti.
Well, that tends to be what happens most often.
Why?
Not.
What are they doing? Why did he run into there and explode?
Well, if I can be very honest with you, and he sort of like reaches in to pull you in almost to like a quasi-hug as he crouches down.
I don't resist the
I start hustling as soon as I see that.
You start to hustle over it.
Yeah.
We've long theorized what be behind that door. It's one of the only places at Absalom Station that no one really has a clue about.
Oh.
Other than these far watchers, and he points to the two statues. As he does, you're approaching, he's like, well, behind your friend, those two statues.
Hey, hi.
One sec, please, I'm talking to a new friend here.
Yeah. How about you just take that arm and just,
No, we're
I
fine.
just said, all right, well, hi, I'm here now, looking over you.
Well, hi. She sort of stands up to try to reach your stature, which you obviously can't.
Yeah.
So this guy, now that you two of you are here, I'll say, he's an older, middle-aged human at the very least, who you definitely understand is a bit of a shyster, for sure. He's a con man.
All right.
You can just tell by looking at him.
I put my arm around his.
Certainly.
All right, what are we looking at?
Well, I was just explaining to your friend about the far gate and how, well, there's many of us who have some theories who might be, what might be behind it, where it might go, if it even goes anywhere at all. And every now and then, one of us gets bold enough to go give it a shot, reach for the door. As you can see, you came upon it at the right time for a spectacle. It hasn't worked out too often. We're thrill seekers, simply. Nothing more than that.
All right. Maku,
Yeah?
you cannot touch the gate.
Oh, no, I
It's not
don't want to turn into
Okay.
spaghetti.
Good to know. All right, cool. Another win for common sense. All right. It's all kinds of theories. Do the sphinxes speak or anything? Those little big old bots up there.
No, they haven't said a word since since Absalom Station was really rediscovered, found, re-inhabited. I don't really know how to describe it. This one over here, and he points at one of his gang members, is convinced it's the portal to somewhere as far in the vast. That one thinks it goes to the Viscarium. This one thinks it goes somewhere inside the station. I personally think it's just a really fancy window, and if you make it through, you end up in space. But no one's made it through, as of yet.
Have you tried just sending a camera in there?
The problem is you got to get past the Guardians. It's quite difficult. You saw the little dive that
Yes, but
our friend did.
what if you have a drone and then a camera? Have you tried to just put it in there?
It's weird what happens when a robot gets spaghettified. It's almost the same, but a bit more clinky. Nothing's ever made it through, at least not as long as I've been here.
Not even a little rock?
You could try, I suppose.
Can I try?
I pull out a coin. Well,
How far out did the force wave go?
Pretty far. So, like, if you pictured the big giant, the big portal on the end, you guys are probably like 40 feet away from it, where your little airlock was, and that it felt like it was right beside you. It's a great big concussive wave of force going out.
It's gonna take me at least 10 minutes to do the funeral rites here, so nobody else jump through for a minute, please.
You're gonna do funeral rites for a person you don't even know?
Why wouldn't I?
Well, I suppose you're not from around here, are you?
Not exactly.
Now, most people don't care so much when we kill ourselves running into this window or wall or door or whatever. They even have a full-time staff here just to clean up our bits, those of us who try to make it through. Maybe ask them to be more polite to us, for goodness sakes. But if you want to do some rites for Fran, we're happy for you to do it.
I'm already doing it. I'm just like shouting over my shoulder to them right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can. I'm not too worried about a coin.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I pull out a coin. All right, Maku. Heads, you can throw it. Tails, you can't. All right. Heads is even. Tails. Is that I've already forgotten what I said. I flipped the coin bar. Maku, anyway. Take it.
I'm gonna throw the coin from wherever I am, which I probably don't even think was gonna make it.
You're like hundreds of feet away. You just with all your might hurl the coin. It squelch. It hits some of the goo that's in the floor and sort of slides
Do you
into
have
it.
like a slingshot
No, Maku.
or a big elastic?
No, Maku.
One of the janitor people come over at this point, sort of picking up the coin, sort of sloshing off some of the stuff. Whatever you're trying to do, don't try to do it. Take back your money. You don't need to pay us for what we do. We get paid very handsomely. Thanks for the tip, I suppose.
Oh no, I just wanted to see what would happen.
Oh, really don't do that. I don't want to clean you up too.
Oh no, I don't want to be spaghetti.
Huh. Well, you ever seen a coin come back at full speed?
Oh, that's a bullet.
There's a reason we stand over there. And when he points, you realize, and it sort of subconsciously kicks in, that they were standing behind like a painted off area in the floor that's probably not the splash zone, as it were, where they'd be safe.
Would that spot be within 60 feet of the portal?
No.
No. Okay.
Well, I've had enough of this horror show. How do we get deeper into the station that isn't a giant, green viscera portal?
Yeah, the janitor guy and the gang member both at the same time start like barking instructions as to how to get out. And really there's no point because there's only one way to go from here, and it's deeper into the station at least. Then they both start giving you can hear them competing for like better shortcuts to get to Lorespire Complex. But it's really up to you which one you want to choose. But eventually the janitor guy sort of puts up his hand towards this gang member. Listen, stop trying to confuse new guests. They're clearly not from around here. Don't try to rope them in. Just let them go about their business, for goodness sake. He looks to all of you. Do you know how many sort of travelers and passerbyers get wrapped up into all this bullshit? Don't worry about what's going on at the end of Fardock. We don't even know. The council doesn't know. The wardens don't know. No one knows. This is just a bunch of lunatics trying to figure it out. Don't get wrapped into it, huh? Stay away as far as you can. The gang member guy has this like painted on face, like he looks like he's just been horribly insulted. We're not lunatics.
Just curious minds.
What was your friend's name, by the way?
Fran.
Fran?
Yeah.
All right. Fran, may you be blessed in the next life with all the intelligence and friends that you lacked in this life. And I just walk away.
You look over. Many of the other members of this little troop are like feeling solemn, as if you're doing real, legitimate funeral rites. Yes, I'll be his better friends. They all sort of say amongst themselves.
Do you know if your friend had any snacks on him? Because I am feeling very hungry.
All the snacks are spaghetti now.
Yeah.
The spaghetti does sound tasty.
No.
Don't eat the human.
No,
Don't
please
eat-
no.
Yeah, that's a good way to get thrown in the brig.
Do you have any snacks?
I do, yeah, but it comes with the caveats. Stay with us for a little bit. Give you all the snacks you want.
No, Maku, no, we're going.
We have
Maku,
things to do.
There are so many snacks we
Dozens
can get.
of places to eat between here and where we're going.
Yeah,
Starts
if
to
you wanna-
crinkle the
We're
bag
on
of
our way
chips
to a
for you.
If you wanna
meeting.
grab
Like,
a bunch
you
of-
can
I-
either
I-
Just
yeah.
slice them in half.
Yeah.
We will get you snacks, I promise.
I believe we've wasted
I
enough
promise.
time. Can we continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, it was nice to meet you, friends.
You do, of course. We'll mostly all be here when you come back, I'm sure, if you're taking this wonderful big ship of yours out. So, I mean, have fun. Welcome to Absalom Station, at the very, very
Lordy.
least.
Yep.
You found a weird spot to dock, but we like it.
What was your name again?
Oh, jeez. It was
say.
Zubek.
Zubek.
Maybe if more than one of you try at the same time. Anyway, bye. Just walk off.
As you're like walking away, we have. No, they're gone. So heading into Absalom Station, as you're leaving behind this little troop of gang members who are still going back, like trying to one up each other in conversation, trying to goad each other to try to go towards this door again in this probably endless stream of people continuously trying to get through the door. You head down away from Fardock into Absalom Station proper, and it's here where you start to get hit by the sort of medley of smells that a very high density sort of pocket of civilization has. You can see, at least in the arms, the area you're in now, which is the sort of skeletal structural area on the outside of the station itself, is where there's a fair amount of, not so much impoverished, but certainly not wealthy people tend to live. And it's here where you immediately, Maku, can definitely just smell this non-stop wave of very diverse foods as shopkeepers or like food stands essentially are nestled into the side of these corridors, just trying their best to make a living, selling some pretty exotic stuff, some which might just be station rats, some might be actually imported from elsewhere. It's really impossible to tell, and you probably can't taste the difference, but it smells pretty decent at the very least. You can see that there are, in the sort of middle distance area before you get into the main sort of doorways that go into what's known as the Eye, the main dome in the center of Absalom Station, there's a couple of little shops set up, but these are like touristy trinket shops. There's people trying to sell like, basically the guy with the trench coat full of watches. It's that kind of shop that you can all immediately see is the place trying to prey on people who are coming in to stations. Probably just what those gangers were doing as well. You could, if you would like, go anywhere as you want in Absalom Station. You could go try to find some place to find lodging for the night, find food, find work, or go to Lorespire Complex, which you're hoping is going to have a meeting waiting for you. You do know that Percival is sort of setting up a couple of different key places you could go try to meet to try to sell off some of the scrap you have, but I do want to pass it off to you all, as you're standing now in what is essentially a pretty bustling, touristy type area in the outskirts of Absalom Station, where you want to go, what you want to do.
I will add quickly, as they were walking, Nival would have bought something from one of the food vendors for Maku. She wouldn't have any idea what it is, just like, yeah, this.
The first food you see.
Just kind of like quietly hand it to him.
I'm gonna take it, but then I can smell something like really, really intense, like, I will be right back. And I'm gonna just run with like, one of my hands has whatever Nival gave me. I've got like
lizard on a stick.
4 of my
Perfect.
arms still holding my lock, and then I'm just like hobbling to wherever.
I'm gonna follow Maku just to make sure.
So you're going to find, like, you're following your nose?
Yeah, I want the most intense smelling food
Certainly, yeah.
item.
You pretty quickly, you're like trying your best to keep up because the little tiny Maku is running as quick as they can. But as you sort of slapstick your way through this pretty dense crowd, you eventually find what is essentially like deep fried ice cream. Is basically what this person is selling, but it's like this weird thing where you can flavor the individual like serving that you're getting. And as soon as you round the corner, you're greeted by almost a skitter stop as you look up and realize the person behind this particular little kiosk is bigger than Thurgood. They're a four-armed species known as a showbad, which are great big giant sort of nomadic desert-dwelling people, generally speaking. Great big giant tusks coming out of their mouth. They're otherwise sort of pallid, dark gray skin. But as you sort of round the corner and stop and go all wide eyes, they immediately look down at you. I know exactly what flavor you want.
Oh!
Just by looking at you. Do you want to look at the menu, or should I just go with my gut?
Oh, go with your guts. I'm very excited.
You come running around the corner, or not running, but around the corner around that time, as this great big giant showbad is literally using his hand to essentially scoop ice cream out into this giant cone. As you sort of, he looks at you. You don't need any of this, but for your little one here, one of everything. So they start to like drizzle various like dyed things over this ice cream, and then sort of unceremoniously dip the entire hand with the cone into a deep fryer. You can just hear of it sizzling, but it doesn't seem to bother him at all. For whatever reason, his physiology completely allows him to be fine. After just a couple of seconds, the hand comes off dripping with oil, and you see this like ball of deep fried stuff. It's about the size of your head, essentially, and he hands it out towards you.
I'm gonna like drop my lock so there's like only one arm or
Yeah,
maybe two.
I'll take
And
the
he's
lock.
gonna, like-
I'll just lean over and
Just gonna grab it with all of his hands. I'm gonna move my lizard on a stick to maybe one of my bottom hands. And just...
Sure. That'll be 2 credits, please.
Okay, here you go.
You sort of transfer over the money. I think you're going to enjoy it. Probably. As soon as you bite in, there's this weird thing. Anybody had deep fried ice cream before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's that weird thing where you like break through the crust and yet it's really cold on the inside. Yeah. It's absolutely delicious. And it does taste like pretty much everything you've ever eaten all at once.
Maku's eating a lot of things.
This is the most delicious.
Hot garbage with cold garbage inside.
Yeah, most people don't like all the flavors all at once, but I know you're a type. I know you do. Or everybody else would just taste the worst. Swamp water's what Skidamanders like. I get it.
It's delicious. It's the best. It's the best. What do you call this again? You put the ice cream in the hot, and it makes it not. It's weird.
We just call it good.
Yeah, it's the goodest good. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. Anytime you want to come back. Julieta is the name of this shop. That's my name. And we'll call the food the same thing.
Is there anybody like waiting in line?
No.
I'm just gonna like sit and bury my face into it.
I'm switching sword, lock in one hand. I'll scoop up Maku with the other hand while he's eating, and then start walking back to the crew. It's like weird, like
Yeah, just grabbing. Like,
weird metal purse lock.
The rest of you, in just a couple of minutes, Maku has not only disappeared, but reappeared with Navel, just stuffing their
Ice
face.
cream's literally dripping off of my fur.
He's in there somewhere.
Do you guys want some?
I'm gonna break off a piece from the back.
I'm assuming it doesn't
Give you an
really
air
smell
hole.
that great to me.
No, it probably smells like an ice cream parlor, like all the
Okay.
different smells all at once. It might not smell terrible, to be honest.
It is really delicious.
I think I'll hold off for now.
In the meantime,
That's good.
Figure has like wandered off and gotten like an oversized Chinese takeout box of like, dirty rice, essentially.
Sure, yeah.
You're just going to town on that.
One credit, please.
1 credit. Oh yeah.
I'm going to dip my lizard on a stick into the ice cream. Just
Oh man.
Boy. Yep.
I'm gonna go find one of the machine
Mm,
dispensers.
going for one of your
Yep.
number combos.
Yep.
You love it so much. It tastes exactly like it does on the ship,
Perfect.
although slightly more fresh, to say the
Perfect.
least.
Doc, what's the matter with you? Come on. This is like our one opportunity.
All I know, man.
I mean, yeah, but that's precisely why I like planet or station side food. Where you can get it. I mean, what are the odds that these kiosks would also be like synthetic food?
I can tell you that the ice cream Maku is eating and the lizard, we've decided, is certainly real.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like maybe 30% of the stuff is probably like purely synthetic goo that's been made to look pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of it might be actual food.
Yeah, gotcha.
I'd look around, find a place that has like a moderate line, so it looks like pretty popular, but I'm not going to be waiting forever, and I'd get whatever they have on the
Yeah,
menu.
sure. It's basically like a cheese dog.
Okay, fair.
Basically what you're getting. I mean, station food.
Yeah.
This is like literally the truck stop
Yeah.
area of
Yeah.
this giant station. So 1 credit, please. Get yourself that.
I want to look for like a noodle shop of some kind. Maybe I'll poke through good. Did they have noodles over there?
Oh yeah.
All right.
All kinds of things.
Point me in the right direction.
That guy.
All right.
With the squint.
That guy with the squint. There I go.
That squid guy with the squid.
Squid with the squint.
There actually is a squid species.
There we go.
In this thing. So 1 credit, please. You can go ahead and buy yourself some noodles. So essentially, as all of you are now sort of gathering in the middle of what we're going to call a food court with your chili dog noodles, rice, goo, and deep fried lizard stuff. Nibel, do you want anything? I mean, you don't need food, but
I am unable to eat. I have no mouth.
fantastic. So you all sort of just gather with your various diverse foods on display and begin to partake in your food.
So once we're done here, what does everyone think? Should we head to this meeting first?
I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're expected.
Expected.
Hopefully.
Keep the Starfinders waiting, and we're gonna head hopefully get some answers.
I mean, at a minimum, if we're not expected, hopefully they can point us in the direction of Tazavir.
Yeah. Tazavir. I think so.
Tazavir, yes. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, there's a specific message, for her, and I feel like the Starfinders like their mysteries or whatever. And this is the hell of a mystery, right? The whole spheres popping out of planets, popping out of ships. It seems like their wheelhouse.
While they're all talking, I'm gonna take out a little book, and it's my grandma's little contact book, and it's all of our family, and I'm just gonna start looking to see if there's any family connection, cousins, uncles, to grandma,
to the Starfinder Society,
to the station.
To the station. Oh, sure. Yeah. So going back, big family tree. Yeah, I get it. Going back many generations, and like if you picture the family tree like this, and you're on this side of the branch, like way over here somewheres, and way up there somewheres. Absolutely, yes. There is a branch of your lineage that was here at some point.
Cool.
To be very sure. Now, very far removed from you. We're talking like 30th cousin.
Well, that doesn't matter.
Isokis actually do measure it, even to that extent. So yeah. There could maybe be some very distant relatives somewhere on this station.
Cool. I'm gonna try to find some way to track them down.
Certainly, yeah. You can just you spend some time essentially on your little tablet Googling during this conversation, and I can actually get you some information as you guys carry on.
Cool.
Do you think I could go get one of those watches before we go?
They're not going to be good quality.
You don't think
They're
so?
good nose quality watches.
I know quality
Oh,
watches.
where did you get your watch?
Where do you think? For being a warrior, I wish, Maku.
You know, that was a very interesting call that you had earlier.
Yep, it was. Very elucidating. We all learned something and became better people for it.
I didn't really learn anything because I only hear the one side of it.
That's good.
But it sounds like that you get to go interview another war hero.
We're gonna talk about that, and I glance at Nibel. We're gonna talk about that later, maybe. Yeah, who wants to go to Apostate? Not me, really, but
I just want to know where you got your watch, because I've been looking for a cool watch for like a long time.
Yep.
And yours is the coolest.
Thank you. This is Synthetical property. I got it from the guy you heard.
Oh.
On the comms. Yep.
Do you think he would give me a watch?
No.
You probably don't want the things that come with getting that watch.
Yeah, the watch does not cost money. It costs everything else.
That's a lot of
That's
stuff.
a lot of things. Oh, too many to count. So, we might as well be better off buying a trench coat watch here in Absalom.
What do you need a watch for?
I just think it's cool.
A fashion accessory. Maku's all about accessorizing.
Yeah.
6 different time zones.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be awful watches, but it's not going to hurt to get a watch. If you really want a watch, go buy a watch.
Yeah.
That's true.
I got the scarf from my friend. I really like it, but
It's a beautiful scarf.
I've lost most of my other accessories. So I would like to get some new ones.
It's time to start collecting.
Right?
Okay, speaking of that conversation, do you think you could scramble Percy's brains a little bit so that he doesn't have such a bad attitude about my privacy? It would help me.
I think if you called him Percival, that might be
Yeah, I think maybe you could.
Percy, P-Bag.
You could probably get away with Percy P-Bag.
P-Bag is a shipboard AI, and I've seen many in my lifetime. And he has he has some gall.
It sounds like he might be the shipboard AI.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem to have the issue with the rest of us who call him by his name.
Right. Well, that's a him problem. He's here to help, not to have opinions about names.
You don't like Percival?
Mm-mm.
Why not? He seems pretty nice.
What's like the standard like?
Seems pretty fly for an
Is there a
AI.
different flavor of Percy for like military vessels? Like, would I be familiar with a different strain of
Yes,
shipboard AIs?
you would for sure. So Percy, or the Percy that you all would know, is so ubiquitous. It's like Google.
Yeah.
Like when we say Google, we don't realize that there is other search engines that exist. You just say Google it.
Yeah.
Percy is the equivalent to that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Percival might be a little bit different than that. And there is certainly some more military-minded ones. So, for example, in your sort of previous history, you had Zax, was the name of the AI that the military you were involved with used. They're all based, it seems, on the same sort of infrastructure. I mean, a search engine is a search engine, essentially. But Zax is a bit more, we'll say a bit more robust in some ways and a bit more useless in others. Yeah. But there definitely is different flavors of AI, but they all do the same sort of stuff.
No, I'm just not used to having talkback, from a ship. And when you have private comms, you expect them to be, private. That's all I'm saying. And so maybe,
But your end was kind of private because I didn't hear what you were saying.
Sure, but that's half the battle.
That's fair. If you don't want him to talk back to you, you could just not talk to him. I would rather not scramble his brain, but if you really want me to, I could try.
I don't think you should.
No,
please
no,
do not
please
scramble his
don't.
brain.
I think you should.
Thurgood, if you try using his name,
Mm,
like not the whole pea bag thing, and
Percy.
but
Just
it's
go
fun.
Percival.
Oh, but it's free fun.
and so he has fun back with you.
Yeah.
Perhaps when we upgrade the ship, we can upgrade a room that is purposefully private and doesn't have AI in it.
Nival is the smartest person here. Well done. Thank you. That is a brilliant idea.
It's that AI.
And I feel
Shit.
I feel like you should have learned by now that nothing is free.
Oh boy.
There's no such thing as free
You
fun.
go away with words, CV2. It's cryptic.
You always pay with something.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Doc, you ever done open heart surgery?
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
God, no.
No.
Put a pin
I'm
in
not
that.
that kind of
That
doctor.
escalated
I
quickly.
took some cutting courses, but you know where I went to school. Would you trust that? I can fit it for a pinch. I can drug you up real good.
Okay.
That's kind of where my specialty sits.
Pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
Okay.
I can get to the heart.
I can do that.
Don't doubt that. Yeah, I think everybody here is qualified in chest.
I
Extraction.
could probably put it back together
Okay.
That's better than me.
functionally, mostly.
All right. Well, that was just a completely, that's an aside. That doesn't mean anything that I asked that anyway. So don't worry.
If we ever had to come to it, we could solve that possibly. I mean, the other option would be the other option, I assume.
Yep.
What is
So-
the other option? What
Not
are we talking about? Because this is a very intense conversation.
One thing I was curious about on that call, though, not to get too deep,
Yeah.
they mentioned that they know that we're with you.
Yeah. Sorry about that. But I don't know. That was the breaks.
Do we know how much they know?
That was where I was going with that.
No, and then in those calls, it's not. I don't have the time nor the leverage to ask that.
I could ask them for you.
Maku, if you show up on screen, we are both dead instantly.
I didn't
Okay.
hear any of our names.
No, but the.
Most people like me, or they just walk away. There's usually, I'm pretty nice.
Yeah. No, I'll think about it.
Our next destination seems awful coincidental if they don't know some of us.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah, who wants to go to Aposte?
Above Table Apostate, you would all know, is a place people generally don't like to go. Generally speaking. Apostate in the Starfinder universe is a planet that is owned by several drow houses. They typically mostly just mostly sell weapons for starships and personal combat as well, and have no compunctions about using those weaponry and testing them on sometimes unwilling subjects, including themselves sometimes. It's very, very high functioning corporate environment is what Apostate is typically known for, and it's a place where they function within the confines of the laws of the Pact Worlds, but then have these weird little like corporate sovereign states that exist. That if you just cross the wrong line, so the rumors go, if you cross the wrong line, end up on the wrong side of the wrong fence, you'd never seen from again. So the rumors go. So Apostate is a place of extraordinary wealth, but also some extraordinarily high chances of bad things happening. So you've heard.
That sounds pretty interesting. I've never been there before.
Yeah, no, me neither. I've heard the stories.
There are lots of places that I haven't been that I don't really want to go.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to go to all the places.
You could handle yourself there, Rolanda. I think any of us could, but like, you know.
If there's another option, I'd rather avoid it.
That's true.
But, well, we'll have to dig deeper into this conversation at a time where it's a little more private.
Sure. Just long and short of it, if you all enjoy my company, then you're going to have to go to Apostate. Because it was not a hollow threat.
If you all enjoy my company, we probably shouldn't.
You got the threat?
Who do you like more? Let's take
Let's throw down right now. Episode 4.
We may be able to come up with a solution, but I think the first thing we need to address is this meeting we're expected at.
Agreed.
Yep, that's true.
Has everyone done their food?
Oh, yeah. Let's try to sync my...
Wrapped up.
Please give me a dexterity check.
Okay,
Who
just
does he
Dex.
hit?
Just
Yeah,
Dex.
just that plus your dex modifier, please.
Okay. Fuck. It was a 16. 12.
12. You sink it. You sink it. It's a big enough bin.
Cool.
Garbage is small enough. Easy peasy. You land it, no problem. So, having finished all your meals, still likely like licking some ice cream out of the beard fur face that Maku has, you begin to head off towards Lorespire Complex. Now, it's pretty obvious where it is once you start to get into the right neighborhood. It's a very large, dominating tower, this huge obelisk that just strikes upwards, maybe 30 or 40 stories tall. The entire complex itself, the entire Lorespire complex, is essentially a university campus. It's relatively dense, and yet is packed and brimming with life and activity. You're greeted at the door by a member of the Starfinder Society, not a steward, but a member of the Starfinder Society who sort of takes your name, gives you a rather curt introduction, saying, yes, First Seeker, you is waiting for you, will be prepared at the Hall of Discovery. I can kindly take you there, if you'd like. The First Seeker should be with you very shortly. I will let them know that you're here. And sort of just begins to usher you into Lorespire Complex. And here you can see there's a pretty wide range of different, well, presumably Starfinders on display. You are certainly not the most armed and armored people here. There are other crews who are milling about, who are all probably members of the Starfinder Society, who have bigger weapons, more armor, more compunction about them, you can tell. And yet, they're allowed to be. They're not at all threatened or harassed for being so weaponized. Excuse me. You can see that there are scholars and scientists and biologists. You can definitely start to see that some people have a mechanical inclination just based on the equipment they have, where some other people you recognize are probably like-minded to Doc, but maybe in a different field. But you feel that connection, as if there's a pretty wide range of explorers, essentially, or people looking for work here. They don't appear to have any real uniform to speak of. The Starfinder Society, at least from what little or how much information you all know about it, is a pretty loosely organized organization. There's a hierarchy at the very, very top, but for the most part, members of the Starfinder Society are sort of free to go about their business as long as they fall within the confines of the work that's being provided. Because of that, Lorespire Complex is a pretty wide, strange range of architectural designs and decor. You can see that there's a couple of little bars or pubs or taverns that look as if they've been transported off a different planet and plopped into this otherwise pretty high-tech looking campus. You can hear sort of rowdy calls and music coming out of some of them, Others look like quiet sort of cafes of sorts, and you definitely get the impression that because there's really no need for time, you can go find whatever you want whenever you want it. If you want to go have a late night rave, you probably could here at 2 a.m, or you could find yourselves coffee at 11:30 at night, and it'd be no problem. But that's not why you're here as of yet. You're heading to the actual halls of discovery, which are in that large tower that dominates the entire campus. The Starfinder, who's with you, sort of like basically hands you off to the next person in a baton race, as you are the baton being moved through this little relay until you find yourself in a very large, very large chamber with an orrery in it. Something you've actually all, I imagine, feel a bit of a sense of connection. It looks like the very same device that was inside the remnants of the Mayaposis, all on a much smaller scale, and it is clearly just the constellation or just the solar system that is the Pack Worlds. You can see where you are, presumably, and all the other planets of the Pack Worlds orbiting around what is the sun of Galarian's sun. Now, when you're left to your own devices in here for just some time, for just a little bit of time, the last Starfinder who sort of guides you in, who's a younger human, just sort of looks at all of you. First Seeker, you is on the way. He'll be here presently, I imagine. Please make yourselves as comfortable as you can. We're all very curious to see how you came upon this ship, and I'm sure it'll be passed down in official memos when the time has come. So please make yourselves at home, and the First Seeker will be here very shortly. He doesn't even make it out the door before he's passed by a very imposing-looking Casathan, the four-armed, sort of longer-headed with the veiled face. Although in this case it's a sort of clearly mechanical, almost like visor that's put over their face, from the eyes down. Now, he is wearing entirely red-looking, or red-painted, very close-fitting, almost like mechanical workers' garb, but there's clearly some harder plastic or metal plates in there somewhere to give him a little bit of rigidity in the event he was to go tumbling through space or something. He does have a pistol on one hip and a little tiny vibro dagger on the other, but he comes striding into the chamber, passes a little Starfinder salute to the person who dropped you off, strides into the chamber, and formally introduces himself, unable to see his mouth moving, but still hearing him speak. I want to make my pleasure to meet you all. I am First Seeker Hugh. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking to?
Pleasure is ours. I'm Thurgood Vale, and this is everybody else.
My name is Maku Makadin.
Just simple nods as you go to introduce yourselves.
Rilana Trolu.
Pleasure.
I am CV2.
Pleasure again.
Nival.
Dr. Orion.
Well, such a strange cast, strange crew, but that's what the Starfinder Society tends to be known for. I do want to apologize, I think, on behalf of the stewards for their, how do I put this, standoffish nature. We, as a society, have put a call out for the ship you arrived on for many hundreds of years, long before I was even First Seeker. So to have the Gant appear on sensor scans was something that caught us all off guard. It's been some time since we've had sirens and klaxons going off in the Lorespire complex, but your arrival was one of them. We had to take precautions and let the stewards know that something bad could be coming. I'm pleasantly surprised to see that isn't the case. Thank you for being so accommodating and so gracious in this meeting. I'm sure you have many questions, and I have many questions for you as well. And I'm going to take this opportunity to use my authority to ask my questions first, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, you got it.
Mm-hmm.
From my understanding, having spoken to the stewards and Commander Ursula, you happened upon this ship in the wreckage of the Mayaposis. Is that true?
100%.
Yes.
That is true.
The Mayaposis is a ship that is far removed from the Pact Worlds, as I'm sure you all know, and you all wound up on there for one reason or another. Excuse me. The Mayaposis has not been allowed to to venture near the Pact Worlds for quite some time, for all sorts of reasons, and Manifestor Kurgit was one of them. He was one of us, before we were Starfinders. At least so we think. Based on what limited information the data files of the Society have managed to glean, it would seem that Manifestor Kurgit was what's known as a cognifier. Now, that's just a term I'm throwing out, but he may have been one of the first sort of true interstellar explorers. Many of the charts and schematics that we found in what became the Starfinder Society after the gap lifted all bore his mark, all bore his name. And yet, the last time he did any exploration on behalf of what we now became was, at least by all accounts, 100 years before the gap even began. Something changed. He left. We didn't really have much of a choice but to put a call out for any sign of him, but as I'm sure you're aware, the universe is a very large place, and if you want to not be found, it can be pretty easy to disappear if you go to the far enough reaches. I believe Commander Kurgit, or Manifestor Kurgit, did just that. I do want to have some clarity as to how the Mayaposis was destroyed. Please, enlighten me and spare no detail.
In all honesty, we'd like some clarity on it ourselves. I've never seen anything quite like, well, whatever it was. We were on a mission.
Was it like this? And he produces a little data pad, sort of presses the button and points it towards you, and you can see what kind of looks like a Venn diagram, almost. But it's like 5 concentric rings that are all sort of connected to one another, and in the middle of them, they have, it kind of looks like almost like a star in the middle of all these circles. They do appear to be all the same size. It's almost like a stamped image. Did it look like this at all?
I'm assuming that does not
really.
Does not look
aside
familiar.
from it being a circle. Not really.
No, it looked kind of like a giant metal circle squid.
Kind of like this, then, and you immediately actually see something you recognize from your home planet, the enormous technological colossi that exists called Technes. I'm pretty certain. Make sure I get that spelled right, or said right. Yeah, a Tekken key is the name of them. They're huge. You've all heard them from myths. You definitely know them actually to exist. Like 100-foot tall, mechanized. Think the things from Pacific Rim. Essentially, that exist, that no one can control, no one has any say over what they do, and no one on your planet even knows where they came from. But what the first secret just showed you almost looks like the thing you saw destroy the Mayaposis. It's a sphere, but it has 8 little spindly legs that come out that have a sort of segmented thing, and it's walking along the ground in this image that you're seeing. Kind of like this, then, perhaps.
I can see some resemblance there. I've seen those before, but less arachnid and more squid or jellyfish.
It was like flying
a floating
through the air.
orb flying through space.
And it just went into the Mayaposis and then it exploded.
It was enormous. It was almost the size of this station.
It looked like it was going
There
in
were
a
2
straight
of them
line.
at the end, and they started orbiting each other on their way out.
We don't know that it was 2 of them. We just saw 2 things that looked similar in size on the radar.
But we saw one leave the planet.
Yeah, we saw one leave the planet, and then after the Mayaposis, we saw it on our radar. But
So, for some context, when the Mayaposis was destroyed, we were on a mission off the ship on the planet of Cerebos. And before the Mayaposis went, Cerebos did. The lands began quaking, something came out of it. The Fomians that were there all started attacking each other. And this giant thing, so the orb with the tentacles essentially, started drifting towards the Mayaposis.
Emerged from beneath the ground. And it sort of hugged the Mayaposis.
it did a really fast hug.
Yeah.
Really fast hug and kind of shattered it.
Other than everybody dying, it was actually pretty cool.
Some ships did get away. The Myoposis, they realized what was happening. Well, that something was happening. I'm not sure that they knew what it was either. But by the time we got back to the wreckage and got onto this ship, there was just wreckage left. There was no living soul there.
We have some documents still that have survived, some data files that have survived since before the gap that Manifestor Kurgat had his hands in. One of them was a search for what he, or perhaps members of his crew, called a terraforminate. He claimed it had potentially the power to make an inhospitable planet habitable. And I suppose by that same line of reasoning, it could make a hospitable planet inhospitable. Of course, the trail went cold. A great period of really no knowledge occurred, and when we came back from the gap, the Gant was gone, along with the entire crew and the rest. We have been searching for some time to find the very ship you came back on. In fact, one of Manifestor Kurgat's closest confidants, a dear friend of his, Percival, may have been working on trying to find out what this terraforminate was. That's where this image goes back to the first one of the 5 circles came from, or so we think. It's been far too long for us to really have any concrete information until the Gant reappeared. That's why I'm so curious to speak to you.
So, Mr. Kurgat was friends with the AI person?
It was not an AI at the time. Or so I believe. I've not known a shipborne AI to really make any headway or investigations on its own. That's something that's more reserved for, well, people like yourselves. And he points at both CB2 and Nyville. Those with a bit more independence and autonomy.
We found a Percival, but he's an AI.
I'm gonna just kick Maku.
Certainly.
Just lightly, just.
I mean, I'm sure it got lonely on the ship after so long. Naming your AI after your best friend probably is not uncommon.
It's entirely true. I'm sure, perhaps, yes.
Right. So you don't know anything more about these things than we do, it sounds like, then.
Really know the name, at least.
Other than a perhaps name,
Yeah.
you have, unintentionally perhaps, reopened a 3 or maybe even 4 or perhaps older 100-year-old case.
I mean, we didn't open it.
I suppose that's
it
by happenstance.
kind of-
We
yeah.
fell into it.
Happened to us.
By happenstance, perhaps, but you're involved now one way or another.
Yep.
I do want to thank you for bringing in what limited information you have brought. I still have more questions for you. However, you mentioned a second signature, perhaps.
There was a recording that we heard.
Well, the second signature, I think you're talking about the second. So we saw the one jellyfish thing, and then our sensors picked up, moving away from the wreckage of the Myoposis, 2 of these orbs kind of orbiting each other as they moved off into the distance.
And there was a lot of radiation.
Yes. It was too far for us to see, but the signature on the sensors showed 2 orbs at that point.
The first secret is taken his tablet and has started sort of to fiddle with it a little bit as you're having this conversation. But eventually, after just a moment, he sort of finalizes and turns the tablet towards you. And what you're looking at looks almost exactly like the signature you saw. These 2 swirling circles. Is this accurate?
Oh, yeah.
Or near to?
Yes.
Sort of presses a little button on the screen. A third appears. Presses. A fourth appears, and they begin to orbit amongst themselves, sort of swirling almost like what we envision electrons in our models of atoms. And finally, a 5th appears, and as soon as it does, they start to nearly instantly, based on this simulation at least, form a sense of synchronicity. until they start to swirl around. It almost looks like a ring, 5 interconnected spheres. He pauses it, and when he does, it looks exactly like the image they showed you when you first arrived.
Right.
I hope that is not the case. I don't think I need to explain what I've just shown you. Whatever destroyed the Myoposis might not be done. There may be more to come.
3 more.
But what does it mean?
What happens when they all get together?
I don't know. And that's what the Cognifiers and Manifestor Kurgat may have been trying to uncover and understand. I assume nothing good.
Why do you assume it's nothing good?
Well,
We don't know that it's going to be bad.
that is true, and your optimism is welcome, truly. But it destroyed a planet, the one you saw, and a ship, and perhaps the Myoposis may have had such a thing nestled inside it somewheres.
Could have been an accident. Like, it looked like it was going straight, and if it had its friend in there, it might have been just trying to get its friend out. And, it's really big, and it might not have known it was killing a lot of people. It just was getting its friend out, and then they went away. So maybe they're just finding their friends, and when they get together, I don't know what happens, but...
But
Party
for the
time.
but for the next 3, there may be other people who happen to be in the way.
Yes, but this is why I say you shouldn't take things captive. It's why I took this lock, because you shouldn't put the big things in cages, because then they get angry and they break things.
Maku has a point.
Not wrong. Here's the thing, though. I mean, if you got all the advanced engineering in the world to, make a big old sphere that rockets off into the ether, I mean, you think it would, programming it to avoid destroying life would be easy, right? So, no. It seems to me it's, utilitarian at best and malicious at worst.
We don't know that it's a machine.
And that's true. Seems like nobody really knows anything, but I'm, keen to err on the side that'll at least give us more answers.
And that is where perhaps you might come in. You are right. We know frighteningly little about what we're talking about right now. All we have is several 100-year-old documents and a several 100-year-old ship that has reappeared, from our point of view, miraculously out of the drift, after being absent and gone from a time before we even knew why we were looking for it. I don't believe in fate, by any stretch of the imagination. I believe in science. I believe in reason. And yet, you all have arrived on board a ship that shouldn't exist. I can't think of any other 300-year-old ships that have survived, just through sheer wear and tear alone. So at the very least, something is afoot.
I mean, just based on the way the Myoposis was constructed, I suspect it was likely built into the center of the ship. Which would explain why there's little wear and tear on it.
Yeah. Seems like the whole superstructure was built to protect the game.
Around it.
Shield it from scans, shield it from decay. Yeah.
Kurgat was certainly a name that was known on the Myoposis.
Absolutely.
So perhaps he helped establish it?
Could be, and it could possibly be that it's a name known aboard that ship, but not known in common speaking here in the Pact Worlds. The Myoposis has, to my understanding, never been here, or really anywhere near here.
I was going to ask, do we know why? Is it a matter of forbiddance, or...
We believe, or I believe, and many other First Seekers before me believe, that it has something to do with just the thrill and seek of exploration, knowledge, and discovery. That is what we do here at the Starfinder Society. We like to find as many interesting oddities, anomalies, untouched species, or unencountered species, planets that aren't on scans. It seems perhaps Manifestor Kurgat was just our predecessor to all of this, although he may have been searching for something far less benign than what we typically look for.
There was certainly an oddity left behind after this thing left the wreckage of the Myoposis.
What would that be?
An orrery almost in the void that was left. There were many areas of the Myoposis I had not seen. But when we returned to the wreckage, we were able to explore the bridge, and we found a vat of many what seemed to be dead infospheres, all gray in color. And they were slowly but surely being sucked in and attracted to this orrery.
Maku's gonna pull the one out of his drone that he has. Like this one.
Is it one of the gray ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just shakes it.
It's like this gross, sloshy, but immediately settles, kind of like heavy liquid. Sort of, and their first seeker looks at it a little bit. May I?
Yes.
Sort of just takes it and holds it like this.
Yes. The tank was full of them.
Well, that's not uncommon. There's many esoteric different ways to sort of gather information and data. Mostly here in the Pack Worlds, we use information networks, but perhaps Myoposis had something different, it would seem. Do you know what it does?
My understanding is that at one time it was a thought, almost.
It looks like it came from a giant slug.
He was dead in the middle, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We don't know why, but he was kind of in the middle of all the thought bubbles.
Would it be okay with you if I kept this for a time to perhaps do some diagnostics and see if we can find any information about it, perhaps?
Okay. Do you have anything cool I can play with in the meantime? 'Cause, like, that thing has been really cool, and I can't really play with this lock. It's very heavy. Do you have, like, a cool watch or something?
Sort of looks at all of you.
Just do it.
Yeah, like,
Already coloring books in here somewhere.
It's better if you give him something rather than just letting him find something.
Noted. I haven't dealt with too many Skittermanders personally.
I just get very bored.
There is a panel over there that will allow you to change what's on display here in this chamber, perhaps. If you would like to. Would that be good, do you think?
Oh, yeah, I like that. That sounds really fun.
Okay, and you can see it zooming into your view.
Before you go, can I ask you a question?
Of course, yes.
Are we allowed to keep the ship?
Well, that may be something we need to discuss.
Because, like, we don't have another ship, and it's really comfy, and I've got a nice little spot set up to sleep.
Well, it's my understanding that ship ownership sort of lies in the hands of whoever owns it. The Starfinder Society, we have a great deal of ships, and we have a great deal of Starfinder lodges, which you would know are kind of like a colony-based ship that exists out in the world that will have little constituent ships that go out. And we, at the moment, don't have a ship to give you.
So we can keep it?
So perhaps you may be able to, but it might come with a formal invitation. Perhaps you're willing to work with us.
To find new planets and new aliens and things?
Well, yes, exactly that. I see I've gotten your attention as opposed to just the panel now, but yes, the Starfinder Society is always on the lookout for capable crews. And it's very rarely that a seemingly capable crew arrives with a ship in tow, especially one of such note. Even if it's mystery, it's still of note. I would need to speak to the forum, but I can very tentatively extend an offer to join the Starfinder Society to you and the crew of the Gant. If you accept it, then we can call it not even, of course, but we can say that the ship has been returned from whence it came. And periodically, if we could potentially take a look at it and try to uncover more mysteries about it, it can be yours when we're not looking at it. That makes sense.
That sounds like a pretty good deal.
Of course, I'll leave it to all of you to discuss, to decide, but there is ample work to be done within the society. You will never be bored.
And I get to go to all the cool places?
You get to go to some of them, certainly. Many that have never been seen before. And perhaps with any luck, after looking at this infosphere for some time, perhaps inspecting the Gant, we may be able to formulate some sort of hypothesis as to what happened. Why the Myoposis was destroyed, if this terraforminate exists or not, why these were moving towards the center of something like an orrery. There's questions to be asked, and that is what we do. If you're looking for a place to freely ask questions and then be given the leeway to find the answers, we could use you. But there's no obligation.
I have another question before we move on with
Of course.
this conversation of employ. Why was Manifester Kurgit wanted?
It was... We wanted him purely out of curiosity. Could you imagine, if I may, finding a book, finding a record of employment that had a influential member in it, the protagonist of a story, and then you find out that they actually exist, they're real, and yet disappeared, but their name keeps popping up in all the documents that you just recently discovered.
Understood, but the Stewarts addressed it more like he was wanted.
The Stewarts are, how do I put this, a blunt instrument, to say the least. We're much more intellectual, much more academic, and, well, a bit softer, we'll say. We do have an arm. The Exo Hunters tend to be a bit more militantly minded among the Society members, but compared to the Stewarts, we tend to ask questions first, and they ask questions second.
Fair, but I believe either you're withholding information or you may want to dig into the fact that he was a part of the Starfinders, left, avoided the Starfinders, and now is wanted by the Starfinders.
I will be very upfront with you. I'm absolutely still holding on to information. I don't know you. You don't know me. And I'm the first seeker of the Starfinder Society. I have a great deal of responsibility. And perhaps if you, how do I put this lightly, if you live up to the merit of what Manifester Kurgit may have been, then perhaps we can enter a conversation where I divulge more. As it stands, officially, from the outside looking in, you're 6 people who have showed up on a multi-hundred-year-old stolen ship. And yet we haven't greeted you with hostility. That's the steward's job. I don't mean to be too cloistered, but I don't know you. That's something I would like to change.
I think you can put yourself a little bit at ease, Nibel. Anytime there's information or people who have crossed the gap, there's always a certain level of suspiciousness that goes with it.
I'm not at ease. I agree that's prudent and smart. I was merely pointing out that there was an obvious glaring gap in some sort of detail.
I can tell you that within these walls, certainly, you are safe. And should you accept this proposed offer of employ, the Gant will not be harassed by the Stewarts any longer. It has arrived. It has been scanned. It will be searched. And by at least my impression of you all, you're not the type of people who need to be wanted. It's all part of the formalities. It's all part of trying to ensure the safety of Absalom Station, the Pack Worlds, the Stewards, and even yourselves. There are places you can go that won't be nearly as formal, but maybe a bit more fiery. We don't like it like that here. I appreciate your concern, and I do want to be more forthcoming with you as soon as I can.
It was not good. Am I coming across as hostile? I was merely pointing something out.
Maybe it could be the expressions.
It's like, calculating, was that a joke?
If there's one thing I have learned in my week traveling, it's that we are too often misunderstood.
The wisest guy here. I don't know. For my own part, I know I carry a lot of personal baggage that might make things complicated if we throw in together. But I think I said it before. I'm kind of sick of not having answers, and it seems like this is an opportunity. to tread towards that. Obviously we've got our own spider webs that you may or may not want in your bookshelves here, but I'm not against it.
I don't believe there's a single Starfinder who does not have something in their closet. That will not be frowned upon here, and if anything, truly, we can perhaps try to aid you in some way, if we can, of course. I imagine you don't want to tell me exactly what's bothering you right now, in the same way that I don't want to tell you everything that I know. Perhaps maybe as mutual trust grows, we can cross those bridges, extend those hands, and perhaps become companions.
During this entire conversation, Maku immediately left when he stopped being talked to, and climbed up on top of his drone and started pushing buttons on the.
Certainly. So as this reasonably not serious, but the somewhat serious conversation is going on, the display that's in the orrery is sort of just changing and flickering every maybe 20 or 30 seconds as Maku is clicking through it. And you can see what it's doing is displaying different solar systems that have been successfully explored by the Starfinder Society. Sometimes there's less planets, sometimes there's more, but just as this conversation is happening,
so
it just changes.
I have a question. Is it there's only one display, or can you kind of zoom in on the solar systems?
You're just playing around, so sometimes you're doing both.
But is it possible?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, at some point he's going to find his home planet, and he's going to see how far he can zoom in to see if he can see.
Street view.
Street view, yeah.
I'm going to use my technopathy node and put a little message on the screen. Maku, don't hack the thing, for the love of gods.
You see it appear. Don't hack it, but you can manage to find Vescuri on display, and you can zoom into just an exterior view. Unfortunately, you can't get down close enough to see your home. But you do see the pink coral sea. That's probably where you came from.
In which I got migrated to.
Yeah, you can absolutely see that. It's clear. And as this conversation is happening, I imagine you guys can see out of the corner of your eye that Maku has stopped on a particular planet and zoomed in. You can see that there's this weird. It's a very tropical looking planet with a giant pink spot that is one sea, and the rest of it is all blue. And Maku's trying to enhance and get closer and closer and closer. But yeah, that's as close as you can get.
Did Kurgat have any friends who are still part of the Starfinder Society?
Only one, and only sort of, perhaps. They go by the name Hysteria, and they are one of the first founding members of what we call the Forum. It's a collective of uploaded consciousnesses. What was once First Seekers, myself included, I'm destined for there. We offer support and guidance to the First Seeker, or they offer support and guidance to the First Seeker. Hysteria is the first one, by our understanding, at least. They were the only member of what we now call the Forum when we all emerged from the gap. They've fallen silent and quiet for a great many years. As the Forum has grown in population, as more seekers have uploaded their consciousness, they've had less and less to say. I'm hoping, perhaps, with this spark, this scrap of information, perhaps Hysteria can be brought back out of their quiet contemplation. But that remains to be seen. I haven't spoke to the Forum yet. I needed to speak to you first.
Someone else we may need to speak to as well. We received a message when we were trying to escape Cerebos, and it was directed to someone in the society named Tassifrir.
Yes, Tassifrir is a member of the Data Files, one of our sort of subsidiaries, one of our guilds, factions, whichever you want to call it. But yes, Tassifrir is here in the Lore Spire complex now. If needed, I can go and get him.
Good.
But why would the message you received call him out specifically?
We could play it for you.
Remains to be seen, but yeah.
Please do, yes.
Speak for itself.
don't remember the message, but boop. Press
I
play.
can read the message.
Please do.
The message says, a missive must reach Tazafir of the Starfinder Society. The remainder of my consciousness has coalesced aboard the Myoposis. Readmaker must be stopped. This message came to us after the Myoposis had been, well, was it en route to destroy it? As it was being destroyed.
Last gasp, as it were.
Yeah.
Well, Tazafir, for what it's worth, he is one of our foremost scholars in sort of collective consciousnesses. He's a member of the data files and has spent, well, a great deal of time trying to understand even how the forum works. You have hundreds of consciousnesses all uploaded to once. Who is really the one speaking? Perhaps Manifestor Kurgat. How did he even know that name? If he hasn't been here ever.
We don't know.
I'm gonna go get him. Yeah.
I mean, we don't know for sure it was Kurgat that was sending us this either.
That's true.
There was no sign off.
No.
It was like really encoded. I think it was from an AI or something, because when it came through, I had to do a lot of decoding. Like, it was really, really weird.
Well, I'm unsure. This needs to be ran past the forum, as well as Tazafir. You're welcome to stay here for some time. I'll be back presently with him. Before I go, can I aid you in any other way? Questions? Perhaps we can carry on this conversation, or I can just return. It's entirely up to you.
We'd like to speak to him as well. So the faster you go, the faster you get back with him, to be honest.
Expedience, please.
Yeah.
Certainly, yes. He's not terribly far away. Only that panel.
Mm-hmm.
There's other panels?
No.
We'll do our best.
I'll keep an eye on Maku. Don't you worry.
I'll keep Maku busy.
Thank you. I'll be back as soon as I can then. This is fascinating. I'm curious, eager to get to the bottom of it. And with that, First Seeker, you turns and heads out of the giant orrery, leaving you to your own devices. Maku, with one single panel to play with.
This is where I'm from. I tried to zoom in to see if I could spy on my friends, but I could not.
Do you think it's real time?
I don't know.
That'd be kind of cool.
Dude.
I mean, you can't zoom in anymore, so there's no way to tell, but...
Yeah.
What is the Coral Sea, Maku?
What?
Oh boy.
What is the Coral Sea?
It's just a sea. I don't know. I didn't spend a lot of time there. See, I'm from this spot, and I'm pointing to like a mountainous area that's like clearly really far away.
Okay.
And it was really, really cold. And I don't remember being there because I was like really little. And I was like eating this big migrating creature who took me like really close to the sea. But there was a lot of stuff there that wanted to eat me while I was really little, so I didn't stay.
That's probably wise, yeah. You didn't think they were friends?
Well, they could have been, but I was a lot littler than them, and they had big mouths, and they kept trying to eat me. So I just went into a village.
Okay. Maybe draw on that sometime.
If it's not trying to eat Maku, it must be a friend.
Well, I think they could still be friends. They just don't know that, that I shouldn't be eaten. Sometimes I eat little things that could probably be my friend, but they just look so tasty.
Friends, not food.
We all fall somewhere in the food chain.
It's true.
I'm gonna try to sneak away while I've distracted them with my planet.
I would probably go over to Thurgood.
Okay.
I'd be watching Maku.
Certainly. Maku, give me a stealth check, please.
Stealth check.
It's going to be pretty hard to hide
Disappears
in
in
a
the
room
room.
like
10.
this. 10. Yeah, so you're like doing the trying to hide thing, but they absolutely know where you are. For sure. Most people, I think, beat that even passively.
I don't, actually.
Thurgood's the only one. And like maybe you lost Maku because Nival approached.
Yeah, if I may, Thurgood, I wanted to, I guess, apologize for listening in on your conversation. I guess what you would call ironically, the reason I was listening is because I was worried about exactly what the conversation ended up being, which was a long shot, but regardless.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if this is the best place to talk about it, but why is Toko such a threat to you?
You are correct. This is not the best place to talk about it.
I was just shooting my shot because you did.
I did want to say that I recognize that it was inappropriate.
It's all right. I mean, Percy's probably not going to cooperate with me. Percy is not going to cooperate with me on keeping things on the down low. And yeah, I think the cat's out of the bag. I think we're all kind of under Synthetico's thumb for a little bit now. So enjoy the ride.
And for the sake of not feeling like I'm being a jerk and sidestepping you, I do not want to go because I believe I will be destroyed.
And if I don't go, same deal.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Well.
Good old catch-22. Love it. Well, thank you. I mean, thanks. It's surrounded. Working at Synthetico, you're kind of surrounded by people who never apologize. So it's a nice change of pace. But I don't really know what we're gonna do. I think we need to know a little bit more context. A little more give and take between all of us.
Yep, I will explain everything, but not now because I believe someone is coming.
In time, yeah. Got an appointment.
Well, even as you're waiting, Maku, you do find some other panels, which are very, very locked. If you wanted to, you could try to break into them. You absolutely can. But they're all password protected. The one that you were dealing with was clearly like a communal public display sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got me curious. I want to try to get into it.
Certainly.
Does anybody have anything in their bag?
Here, Maku. Look at this. Look at this. And okay, fine.
Maku's not
Maku's totally.
I can take out Charlie.
I'm like, unless you're putting it in front of my face, I probably don't even know you're trying to.
Yeah, I'll like.
Go ahead, give me the
and then put Charlie down on the screen in front of you.
21.
21. So you sort of realize what's going on as you hear the as Maku's trying different passwords, different combinations and things, and realizing exactly what he's doing. You head over, and unfortunately, between the difficulty of the computer itself and the now distraction of Nibel standing above / behind you, dropping this little gold beetle in front of you, you're not going to be able to get in for sure. It's quite a complex system.
Please do not hurt him.
I would not hurt him.
Please don't eat him either.
Please do not hack him.
He is metal. I don't think I can eat it. He's really cool. What is his name again?
Charlie.
Charlie. If he was not metal, I might eat him by accident. That wouldn't be on purpose.
You go to reach and take hand back. Well, you can hold him for now. Yes.
Okay. Does he do any tricks?
Maybe you can teach him.
I'm just going to sit and I'm going to take whatever crumbs I have somewhere around me. I'm sure I do. And
You still got ice cream on your face.
Yeah, true.
Trying to teach him how to do a little rollover or flip or something, or a little bug high five.
So this is gonna be a weird one. Give me a computer use check.
18.
An 18. You definitely have figured out pretty quickly that if you sort of tap, it'll walk to where you tap, but it has nothing to do with food. It's nothing to do with any actual treats. It's relatively, not quite rudimentary. It maybe a bit mean, but it's a little tiny construct that can move around.
You know when you go to the stores and you see those bugs that you turn on and they just vibrate across it? He's like one of those, essentially. A little bit more sophisticated, but...
And as you're giddy with excitement that happened, the door swishes open. The first person to walk through is the first seeker, you, with his sort of swagger that he has, but following behind him are a pair of androids. Now, both of them have one pretty distinct thing about them. Their hair, or their what androids really have hair?
It's hair.
It's hair.
Synthetic hair.
Hair.
Both of them have pretty shockingly blue hair, almost like pastel blue hair. There is a male and female android who both come through at the same time, with the female one taking several steps further back, as if they're following behind. The male android is introduced immediately. First Seeker U sort of ushers him forwards, and he timidly approaches. This is Tezafrir, one of our most accomplished sort of collective psyche scholars. He's a bit on the quiet side, however, but, well, here he is, nonetheless. Tazarfir, they have some questions for you. Please answer as best you can. Tazarfir, for what it's worth, he's a bit more on the more diminutive side. He's a lighter frame than you, to be sure, and is a bit more reserved, sort of closed in, even in his body language. He does look at each of you, sort of lingering for a couple seconds on every one of you, before finally, yeah, I can answer questions, I suppose. He looks back to the other android, who simply nods. He looks back to you all, and I'll be as honest as I can.
Could you introduce your companion as well?
Yeah, that's the first question.
He glances back, and she nods her head no. He spins around. No. She's a member of the data files. I can say that much.
All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and reach out and touch Tazafir's arm.
Sure.
And use Mind Link
Sure.
to communicate all of the information we've got about
Okay.
the transmission thus far.
Nice.
Fantastic. So as soon as you do, there's a... When your two minds connect for the second to start getting this information, after just a couple of seconds, a couple of bursts of information heading to him, he almost violently recoils. He peels himself away. No, not like that. No, you have to use words. We cannot connect. We cannot join. We cannot be one. No. This is me. This is not me. Nope.
Do you need the bug? He's very good at helping you calm down. His name is Charlie. My name's Maku.
He looks down at Charlie and Maku.
Here, yeah, you just let them crawl around, and then you just focus on him crawling around, and he'll help you calm
He
down.
sort of wiggles up Tazarfir's arm, and he seems completely ambivalent to it, almost oblivious to it. It's not working.
Oh, it's something else.
I'll take Charlie back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Rulana, just should we give him the spear, the other one?
All right. Well, Tazzy.
You said, sorry, you're who? She's part of the what? The data?
Yeah, so the first seeker you chimes up. Both members of the society brought before you here are members of the data files. It's one subsection of the Starfinder society who, well, really try to just find information for information's sake. Tazarfir is the one you need to speak to, and his companion, his supervisor, my counsel, is here to oversee the conversation and nothing more. Allow her to be here, please.
Why?
She has a better understanding and a better way to perhaps, how do I say, interpret what you're saying to Tazarfir. They are connected, which is why you can't be connected to him. You can't interfere with her too much. Please just trust me on this one.
Can I sense motive?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
While she's doing that, Maku's gonna be like,
Is that why he is so nervous?
Ooh, dice are hard.
Okay, that's a 6. I couldn't tell if it was 6 or 9. So 6 and 15.
15. You roll like that here. Yeah, so the first seeker is being mostly honest, it would seem. Whoever this other android in the back is probably his councilman. Probably doesn't have any more information to give you other than what Tazarfir can, if he can give you really anything. And the fact that they are connected is probably true. There is probably, and you would know this does exist, both of you would know this exists, you can like interface with other androids in the same way you can interface with other living creatures, including him, but they don't want you in their circle.
Yeah.
It would seem.
First seeker, you
If we trust this enough to have her in the room for this conversation, would you please give us the courtesy of at least providing her name?
You can see he mulls it over for a second. I'll leave it up to her then. He just glances off at the other android, who calculates for a second, finally takes a step forwards. Yes, fine. I've been remiss. I am Hysteria 7. You can call me. If you're going to call me anything at all. Tazerfir is who you need to speak to. He is, at times, not stable. It does require some support. And that's why I'm here. I keep him grounded more than anything. If you were to potentially divulge some information that he's not prepared for, whatever that may be, it could send him into a state of shock. I'm here to make sure that doesn't happen. More than anything. He knows more about this than I do. He is the foremost scholar in collective intelligence. I'm connected to him in as loose way as I possibly can. What he's thinking is beyond me. So please offer the help you can to him, and he'll do his best to answer his questions. Answer the questions you have.
All right.
Is he sitting or standing?
Standing.
Maku's gonna just kind of walk up and like give his little leg a hug.
Certainly, he very kind of looks down and isn't sure what to do with himself. Like, he doesn't know if he could move, stay.
I'm just gonna look up with like the biggest puppy dog eyes that I possibly can, and be like, "Everything is going to be okay."
Down at you. Oh.
And they'll nuzzle a little bit.
Okay.
That was harmless. It's all right.
Yes.
He's doing his best to comfort you and help.
It's not working.
Okay.
I pull up a chair and sit down across from Teza.
Okay.
Legs kind of crossed casually. Hi, Teza. Everything here that's been all this mind futzery above my pay grade. But we do have some questions for you. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, we received a transmission on Cerebos shortly before the Myoposis was destroyed. You were briefed on everything else, right, before this?
Yes.
All right. We received a transmission specifically asking for you and your expertise. You can play the recording if you'd like.
Yeah, it said, a missive must reach Tazafir of the Starfinder Society. The remainder of my consciousness has coalesced aboard the Myoposis. Readmaker must be stopped. There was no sign-off.
I need the message, then. I need the distilled message, the concentrated message.
Something that would
What's
be...
that?
This is my data pad. I downloaded it.
Oh, you downloaded the message that came in.
Yep.
Yeah. So he looks over the tablet a little bit and sort of fiddles around with it. This is not it. This is not it.
The infosphere.
Not
Yeah,
it.
give a meaningful look to the two that retrieved the infosphere.
The original message came into a ship that is lost to us now, the Moat.
Oh.
And when we returned to the Myoposis, we found some of these, and I'll pull out one of the gray ones first, because I've got a bag with some of those in it as well as the original.
And you can see his eyes sort of not light up, because they're obviously lit up,
Yeah.
but they sort
So-
of get a bit excited.
I pass him one of the gray ones as a start to gauge reaction to this.
He takes a hold of it, and as soon as he does, he holds it right up close to his chest and begins to sort of look down, as if he's like a really nearsighted person trying to figure out a Rubik's Cube. Like, he's looking really, really closely at it until you hear a pretty distinct hissing noise, and he finds a way to sort of separate it, and immediately the sort of goo begins to float a little bit down his hand, down his arm. And even the First Seeker and Hysteria 7 are both looking on with a bit of perplexity, as I'm sure you all are as well. This is dead.
I told you we should
This
go broke at the open.
is dead. There's no message here. There's no message here. There's no
There
message
were-
here. Hysteria 7. There's no message here.
Tazafir,
And he starts to panic, build a bit more panic. You're trying to calm him down, and his supervisor, Hysteria 7, has to come over and like places a hand on his shoulder. And you can feel just this calming sense. And you definitely understand that they're linked, and you also understand the two of them are linked. And in a couple of seconds of hyperventilation, even though he's an android, he calms down a little bit. This one's dead.
They all
one's
were,
dead.
with the exception of one.
I'll-
And I will now take out. The
I'll
one
show him the
that-
scan of the one because I did a scan
okay.
on that one. So I'll just give him the screen of my micro lab,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the full scan that I did of the living one.
Mm-hmm. So as he's looking at it, he's trying to piece it through. He sort of places his fingers on the screen itself as if he's trying to connect to it. Do you have it?
And I'll take it out and give it to him.
He drops your tablet. You just drops to the ground.
Breaks the
That Maku's
screen.
nearby, so I imagine you could like stick a foot out.
I'm like still attached to his leg.
Yeah.
So.
So tablet gets dropped, and a bunch of hands go out to get it. But you produce the real one. He immediately reaches out for it and grabs a hold of it. Relinquishing it, he takes it and does the same thing. He snaps it open, and when it does, this weird purplish goo does not flow out, but strangely begins to flow upwards, almost like like liquid in zero gravity, despite you being clearly in gravity. And when it does, it starts to flow outwards, and everybody's looking on rather confused, including Tazafir, it seems, at first, before he starts to piece together maybe what he's looking at. Perhaps you catch a glimpse of understanding, maybe. It is where to go. Yes. Yes. There. And he points out one of these weird little globules. It's of some significance in size. Excuse me. Of some significance in size. That is Absalom, which you would know is a planet in the Pack World system. And that is Vesk 2, and Ceravos, and Downlico, and Eox, and he just starts to, in a pretty constant cadence, saying names of places, pointing at different globules, until he sort of gets to maybe the 10th or 15th name of a place, where he finally sort of trails off a little bit. Hysteria 7 puts a hand on his shoulder, connects for a second, quieting him, and she speaks, not on his behalf, but speaks. All of these places are destined to be destroyed, it would seem. And maybe that's just sort of the way it goes in the cosmic scale of things, but where did you find this? Where did you find this information?
The Bridge of the Myoposis.
How anyone could know, guess, plan, predict the destruction of so many places? It can't be right. It can't be accurate. Vesk 2 is still here.
Ceravos is not.
That's one, but there are many other places named, and perhaps most of them are still... I haven't even heard of this one. And he talks about... Name here, sorry. This one, Damipi. I've never even heard of it. Where did you hear of it? Speaking to Tazarfir, who immediately clashes up again. I don't know. But it will disappear. It will go. Even Galarian was gone this way. Now, that's a name that does spring to your attention. Absalom Station is where this planet of Galarian used to be, at least according to all the various lores and mythos. It might have been destroyed, perhaps, according to at least what he's spouting off right now. I think that there is danger coming, growing. I don't think we know enough yet, but if I have an idea. He looks down at you, Maku. If you take this and produces essentially a USB stick, but a little data stick, and hands it to you, and points off towards the center display console. Would you kindly kindly put that there,
Sure.
please.
Runs over and
Skittering across. Plug it in. And as soon as you do, the orrery changes its display to put on a solar system that none of you have ever seen before. It looks like at first, several orbiting bodies. But a couple seconds later, you, at least the perceptive among you, can really start to see that what you're looking at is nearly a carbon copy of all these floating little globules that are nearby, as if it's not really a solar system, but perhaps a wider image of a larger galaxy, even perhaps. But you can see that there's points that clearly line up, and yet, when he is looking at these two displays, Tazarfir does sort of make some connections. Cerebos. There's nothing on the display. Galarian. There's nothing on the display. But Vesk 2, it's still there. So there's some weird disconnect going on between the planets or systems that do still exist, at least on the data set he gave you, and what's on display in this weird collection of globules. We need to send word to all of these places. All of these places. All of them. See where we get word back from. Cerebos is no more, you said. Galarian's no more. We have to send word. Warnings. And as he's thinking and panicking a bit more, you can watch, or you're watching as these globules are still moving. They're still shifting a little bit. Perhaps they're mimicking the orbit around the universe that they take, perhaps. But as this whole conversation's going on, they've started to sort of recoalesce together, be drawn together back into like a single blob of this purple swirling thought essence energy, essentially, just sort of above your collective heads. The image you put up hasn't changed at all. But as it's beginning to swirl around, the perceptive among you can look sort of upwards into it and see that there's small little almost masses, little congealed bits beginning to form inside this sphere as it's rotating around. Both of these androids who are on display, or who are with you, are looking up rather confused at it. But before your eyes, over the span of maybe a minute or two, the globule clearly begins to separate and segment into some smaller pieces. And it doesn't take long before it becomes readily apparent that it's turning into 5 individual little spheres that are sort of clicking, rotating around each other, now separate from one another. Just this mass of 5 globules rotating sort of endlessly around. And Tazarfir looks up at it. That is what is happening, I think. I think that they are connecting. That is what this is. This is a hive mind, for sure. I'm certain. But one that is spread across many planets. Far, far, far and wide. Reaching out to itself, reaching out to each other. I don't think we should stop it. That's when Hysteria sort of chimes up, puts his hand on his shoulder. Well, that's a discussion we all need to have, Tazarfir. That's a discussion we all need to have. Amongst ourselves and the First Seeker. But we shouldn't stop it. We shouldn't stop it. Let it happen. Don't stop it. He's getting a bit more agitated, but still, Hysteria 7, calm. Calm. Put it away, if you can. Remove yourself from the situation. Take a break. Rest your mind. He's still beginning to get a bit more panicked, until she very clearly gives a bit more oomph, which you recognize immediately to be a sort of calming, possibly magical effect. Sort of pulses into his shoulders, and he does immediately sort of groan down a little bit. The swirling 5 globules still above your head, still grinding around. But Hysteria 7 looks at you all and the First Seeker. I'm unsure what that even means. Really. I can't claim to understand how Tazarfir's mind works. I've only been really given a glimpse on the outer shell of what he thinks. he made a connection. I don't know how valid it is. He seems to think there's a mind spread across a great distance. There's something to be said for that, I suppose. I mean, I am just the byproduct of Hysteria herself. 7, it's in the name. But I'm not connected to Hysteria. I'm not the same anymore. I don't know what to think about it, really. Not yet. We do need to send out word to all these places, and the First Secret just is nodding along. We absolutely need to send word, and... Where did this thing come from? Beneath the surface, you said?
Split the earth. Came right up.
They need to survey, excavate, and see if anything dwells beneath any of these planets, truly. I'm sure there's something, but if it's something that will blow the planet up or not is what remains to be seen. It is troubling, to say the least, but I don't know what to think about it. Tazarfir will need to think some more, I am sure, and can we take this? And Hysteria 7 points up at the sort of roiling ball of consciousness. Can we take this back and study it? Or do you need to keep it? I don't want to impose. But perhaps we could glean some more information.
I feel like you could take more from it than we could.
We're not experts here, at least not in this.
And the First Secret chimes up. And if you do accept a possible invitation into the society, then you could speak to the data files at a moment's notice, whenever you wanted, perhaps. And if we glean any information, regardless of your acceptance into the society, we will let you know.
2 things that were still unclear. Is Tazafrir able to tell who this came from?
I can unease his mind for a moment and ask. She releases her grasp on his shoulder, and he immediately begins to well up a little bit, and she tries to calm him down just with placating words. Only, calm, calm. We have one simple question now. One question, dear Tazarfrir. Who did this message come from? He panics a bit more, gets more concealed amongst himself. It was Raidmaker. That's who this message is from. It's Raidmaker. It's Raidmaker. That's the name. That's who it is. That's the consciousness. That's the consciousness. That's who it is.
Okay.
And he starts to get more and more panicked. And she puts a hand again and tries to quell it a little bit, and it does, but he's clearly agitated, even with this now compulsed quiet. He's still agitated.
I'm gonna lean into her and tell her I could help with that.
It is often best to allow him to just calm himself for some time.
Would it help if I distracted him a little bit? And if he could take his mind off of it and he could teach me something? Would that help?
It might, but the last thing we need is for his mind to be distracted.
Oh.
He needs to be thinking about this.
Some focus. I said
Right
lay
now.
off of the guy for a while.
Yeah, I think he needs a break. He looks very
a
upset.
rough go at it.
And she still has her hand on his shoulder. Does that name ring any knowledge to you, Raidmaker?
That was the second question.
Well,
wasn't
no,
that-
it wasn't
that-
part of the message.
Yeah, he
That's
said-
what I mean. It's a part, but we don't know who that is.
Well, the thing is, if it came from Raidmaker, then why would Raidmaker want to stop itself?
Because it looks like they know the
One of
future.
many consciousnesses.
So maybe they know what they're going to do and they don't think they can stop themselves from doing it.
Maybe. I mean, there are some pulpy stories about serial killers, who ask to be stopped, please God,
Yeah.
Could be. A mind divided against itself, maybe, if a consciousness spends enough time apart, maybe they drift.
Maybe they're like a clone, like our friend here is clone number 7. So maybe he's a clone that's trying to stop his other clone or the original one.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Don't look at me, Jesus. Seems
And
possible.
Hysteria 7, for what it's worth, says when Tazarfir calms himself, I'm sure he'll have more information to glean. I have your information. You've arrived on the Gant. maybe even by the end of the day today, when he's had some time to process, I can tell you more. There is some merit to that, however. When the forum gets particularly agitated about a topic, it can become rather disjointed. And the forum is several hundred former First Seekers. One of Tazerfir's main areas of research is determining who speaks for who and when. So if this Raidamaker is a consciousness warning itself against itself, there's many questions that need to be answered. The first one was when the Gant even arrived, where it came from. We've answered some of them. So, the one thing about knowledge I have learned is it's a slow process at times. It's not something you get answers to the moment you ask a question. If we can take that with us, I can take Tazerfir to calm himself. Perhaps we can glean something out of this. Messages to be sent, and the First Seeker nods again, reassuring. It's perplexing, to say the least. Perplexing. But we'll get to the bottom of it. That's what we do. Knowledge is power, and we will understand this, even if it takes some time. Tazerfir, and she takes his hand off again. He begins to well up a little bit, and she puts it right back down. And he's not ready right now.
No.
Can I just ask him one question before you go?
Yes?
Rolana, can I have one of the gray balls? They took mine. The shaky and the glitchy. Please?
No, I gave them one from my bag.
Oh, you only took one?
What do you mean? I had no. They didn't take yours. I gave them one.
No, I had one and I gave it to you.
One exists. You can definitely have one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Will you teach me how to open it?
As we sort of looks down at it, looks down at you, and you looking up at him, you're one of the few people who, I suppose Dogwood as well, but one of the few people who have clear line of sight up to him, and you can just see his eyes are like doing this up-down aperture dilating thing. He can't even hear you. He is somewheres right now, zoned out, staring at it.
I'm just gonna keep talking at him.
Ask him later, pal. Hey, Maku, you can probably get an answer to that question, but not right now. Dude's
I don't see any buttons.
I know, that guy knows a lot, right? And so it just gets complicated, but I don't recommend that. You're probably just going to make a mess. I think it'll be sad.
Were there any, so he mentioned a planet that Hysteria 7 had never heard of.
Damipi.
Yeah. Is that somewhere that they'd be able to, did that show up as one of the globules?
It did, yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, it did on the little map there. And when you mention that, the First Seeker does sort of think a little bit for a second. One of our Wayfinder drones did come back from this quadrant of the vast saying there was not a planet, but, well, a creature drifting through the vast. I'll return it just one moment, please. The First Seeker just quickly skirts off, leaving the two androids with you. Hysteria 7 still looks at you all. Tazerfir is not, I think, available for any more question at the time. He'll need to rest, but I can answer questions as best that I can with my knowledge. I tend to... My focus of study is more in history, not consciousnesses, but I can still help for what I can. I can connect to him to some degree and may be able to pluck some information from him, but he is a maelstrom right now, and it might be difficult.
Hysteria 7, is Tazerfir in any pain?
It depends on how you choose to measure it, I suppose. Physically, certainly not. Mentally, possibly. Possibly. There's no real way to tell. He doesn't complain very often. He's driven by his work. Even if it hurts, maybe.
Devoted.
Yes, driven.
Tezifer mentioned Galarian was gone in this way.
Mm-hmm.
How could he possibly know that?
I don't know. That was among the more troubling things he said. Was Galarian destroyed the same way as Cerebos? Perhaps?
Could be.
Where did the station come from then? I don't know. Truly don't know. He doesn't know yet. That's why we want this. Connect with it, think with it some more. I truly do want to thank you. Despite the look on my face and his demeanor, this is a great thing you have brought us. It's a mystery. And it's one that we have no real compunction, real plan to how to even approach it yet. And that's what makes it so enticing.
Above table for a
Yep.
sec. Is like what happened to Galarian and the Gap thing, is that what's established in our universe right now? Like Galarian was taken away, protected by the god or gods? Maybe something happened.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Maybe.
it might have been destroyed.
We'll give
Or
it a
destroyed?
soft maybe.
Ooh. Okay.
A few moments later, the first secret does re-emerge, carrying with him a little data pad. Yes, not so much the planet Demipi, I'll pen in that name for now, but one of our Wayfinder drones, found an Oma, which you would all know is a giant space whale, essentially, that exists in the world. It's reasonably common knowledge that they exist. Of incredible size, carrying with it a small collection of sapient species, kind of similar to Kalos. You would know those, the aquatic sort of fish-like people, who claimed nothing more than their planet would be swallowed by the sea and the land. And there's millions of souls that need to be saved, but we have yet to dispatch a ship to go investigate. This just came in recently, this ping from this drone. I suppose now is as good a time as any to possibly formally invite you into the Starfinder Society. And if you're curious to get to the bottom of this, or not, we could send you there as your first official mission with the Society, or perhaps you could find other work for you to do, but you're already deeply connected to this. It would be sort of a waste to not keep you connected, I think. Of course, that's entirely up to you. Demipi could be a planet to discover for the first time, maybe before it's lost.
That's my quandary here is it already gone? That's why we've not heard of it.
There is an innumerable amount of places none of us have ever heard of yet. The universe is vast and wide, and that's very much what we do. We find things. We make contact. Hopefully try to save and prevent when possible.
I mean, it seems as though circumstances are kind of forcing our hands. Rather cowardly to hear about something like this and then not do anything about it, right? To be some of the few who know and just throw up your hands, why not?
I think it would be exciting.
Maku wants to.
I've received a calling to explore, so.
Is there a time frame in case there are other things we need to do first?
Well, our Wayfinder drones are not particularly fast by any stretch of the imagination. Where it returned from was several months' journey away, but its pace. The message would have taken several weeks to get here, so I imagine time is not as much of a factor. It could take, by normal drift travel, several weeks to get to where this drone even sent the message from. So, no, it's not a need of super expedience. Many things within the Starfinder Society tend to be a little bit more of the relaxed pace. With the exception of the Xenoguardians, they tend to be a more rapid response to things. But for the most part, we're explorers. We're venturers, voyagers. It doesn't require a great deal of speed.
We should probably go a little fast though if planets are starting to blow up.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, we definitely have some decisions to make. I think it seems that we're all interested in what you propose, but I do know that several of our party have other things that may need to be resolved first, or at least a plan might need to be made surrounding them before we can commit.
Certainly, for ease of everybody, then perhaps return to the Gant now. I can draw up formal invitations to the society, with no pressure to join or not. You're welcome to decline, but if you do want some of the support we can provide, including keeping the Gant, that will be 100% yours, should you remain with the society. And I can find you maybe by day's end. Give you some time to think about it in private.
That sounds reasonable.
Yes. I wanted to be clear, there is no pressure. Although I can't confirm that the Gant will remain yours should you not choose to stay with us for some time. I'm sure a group of yourselves could easily find yourselves a ship to call home, if you needed to. I don't want any more pressure on you right now. Leave us for the time being. Allow Tazrafir to rest his mind, make sense of this infosphere perhaps, and I can return, say, before the sun would set.
Sounds like it should give us some time to have the discussions we've delayed.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, then it's settled for now. You know your way back to your ship. We will be here. I know the way to your ship, and I'll draw up formal invitations and speak to you in a few hours. And with that, unless you guys have any more questions, sort of passing goodbyes occur, and you're free to head back to your ship. Or wherever you want, I suppose. You're free to go anywhere, but back to your ship.
On the way back through the food court, I'm grabbing another chili dog because I don't want to eat the stuff on the ship.
Dog.
Perfect. One more credit, please. So, where do you guys want to go? You're sort of stepping out of Lore Spire Complex into Absalom Station Prime. You could go anywhere as you wanted to. What do you want to do?
Is there any, like, as we're passing through this spot, is there any, like, little animals or anything?
There's a food court.
Yeah, there could be some.
No.
On our way back to the ship?
Yeah, on your way back to the ship, especially in this area of the arms. At best, you're going to find what are essentially like subway rats and things like that. Weird little tiny scruffy creatures that feed on scraps and things. And you definitely see a couple of them, and for the most part, they scurry away as soon as they're even looked at, let alone approached. But yeah, there is some little tiny life forms around.
I'm going to grab the nearest food I can find and go and try to get one of the rats to come.
Certainly, yeah. And it works.
A rat.
It absolutely works. They're not particularly bright, and they're, I want to say humanized, but they're used to being in a tiny station full of people. So one of them certainly approaches, and when it does, something rather weird happens. You're holding out your little piece of whatever kind of food you bought, jerky of some kind, we'll say. And as this thing approaches and you're expecting it to reach out, at the last second, the mouth opens and essentially a chameleon tongue of sorts comes shooting out from like 2 feet away and snatches the food right in your hand from farther away than you expect it to be. And it sits there 2 feet away and starts to chew at it.
Hello, what is your name, little guy?
Scurries and runs away, happy with the food that it's got from you. And you're trying to like play the Pied Piper the entire way back, and every single creature you find.
They can't understand me.
They can?
They can't understand me.
Pork hay.
I have the mushroom I ate.
Oh, remind me, please.
I can talk to basic language with with animals of intelligence 1 or 2.
Dope.
So I don't in character know this yet, so I'm
Fantastic.
trying to just like do a weird Maku thing and
then it works. In this case, by maybe the second one, or maybe the third one that you find, it does realize that you're giving food to some of its companions and approaches and gets a little bit closer and actually comes right up to you instead of using this weird chameleon tongue to try to grab the food. And it like grabs it with little hands and pulls it down and starts yum 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 yum.
hello, little guy. My name is Maku.
Snaps its head up at you, and It only has an intelligence of 1, so even though you can communicate with it, it's pretty dumb. So it's looking up at you and just more.
Okay. Just gonna like keep giving it food.
It jumps into your little bag.
Do you have a name, little friend?
More.
Is anybody around me right now?
Oh, probably everybody.
Yeah.
I've got a new little friend. His name is Moore.
I think Maku's finally snapped.
Oh boy.
Do we want
Will it
ship
let me
rats?
pick it up?
I do not
If
have time for
I'm gonna
this.
take the food and the little
Yeah,
rat.
sure. It is. Maku has a new little friend. You sort of pull it out. It's this weird thrashing little rat thing that's like maybe the size of a guinea pig, but quite a bit more emaciated with a chameleon tail tongue.
We
Sort of
probably don't
thrashing
want
it.
rats on the ship.
And there's only one.
But he's talking to me. His name is Moore. He just keeps saying more.
Oh.
You all just hear screeching and hollering,
Yeah.
and you just hear more.
He's very hungry.
Yeah. You
You're
know what's
very
going to
hungry.
happen if he's on the ship?
What?
He's going to be very hungry on the
We
ship.
got all the slop in the world. Come on.
Yeah, we've got lots of
We
food.
got all the slop in the world.
Probably got a lot of diseases.
You,
What did that-
You could scan it when we're on board.
Yeah.
You could also dose it when we're on board.
Doc,
Yeah,
it's
I
a
could
free
also-
subject.
I mean, I could also probably make sure there
I
aren't going to
don't
be
want.
more.
I don't really
I
need
was-
to keep him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we're friends. Do you want to come with me, little guy, or would you like to stay here?
More. He's like reaching for your bag with his little hands.
I think he wants to come with you.
Perhaps you should stay with his family and friends here.
Do you have family and friends here?
He's just screaming, more.
He just knows how to say more.
Okay.
If he gets homesick, that's not very kind.
Well, that's very true. I don't want to keep him captive.
And I'm going to just take a bunch of whatever crumbs are in my bag and I'm just gonna flop them there.
As soon as you flop them down, like 6 more just appear.
Are they all just saying more?
Basically, yeah. They're just screaming, more. And you can see that it's beginning to call out because more of them are like in the distance. You see some of them poking their heads out. And they're starting to flock towards it. But eventually, the sort of half dozen or so rip whatever you gave to shreds. And the other ones you were running to approach sort of stop. And realize there's no more food to be had.
No more.
Let's get out of here before they follow us.
I'm 100% doing that. I'm heading to the can. Stone face.
Should we swing by any of those places to sell our
Well, I
our
think we have
scrap?
to pick that up from
Yeah, I
Percival.
gotta check from
He was
Percival.
going to like upload that information to our tablet while we were out.
Oh, I meant
And he was
to
going to
grab
coordinate
that
it.
USB stick on my way out.
Oh, the
the
one that
door.
he had? Yeah, he wanted it back. Yeah. As you guys get back to the far dock, that particular corridor where the Gant is parked, as you round the corner, you can see the janitorial crew are now, even all these hours later, once again cleaning something up. So maybe an attempt was made. But a somewhat familiar face looks at you as you round the corner. Maku, you're back.
Hi, friends.
How did it go?
It was good. I made a new friend. His name was Moore.
That's a fantastic name. What are you doing back? Most people who leave Fardock don't ever come back.
Oh,
Well,
well,
our
our
ship's
ship
our
is
ship's
here.
back.
They're letting you keep that one.
Yeah, well, it's ours.
It's not too often that people who get sort of escorted in by the stewards gets to keep their stuff. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Are you looking for crew?
Nope.
It would be. We do have a very big ship.
We're not exactly sure what we're doing yet.
Perfectly fair. If you want someone who knows how to run and jump and crawl, any one of us can do. And many of us are always looking for work. Huh?
Alright.
We
Yeah, we'll
like
think
people
on
that
it.
stay alive too, though.
Well, it depends on where we're running, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
I've made it this far.
Although a crew that doesn't mind dying might not be a bad idea.
There's something to be said for that.
That is.
They seem pretty nice.
Think about it.
We'll see.
Think
You
about
all wear red shirts.
it. Red
That's-
and blue,
Red
depending
and blue.
really on the time of day and what light we're cast in. Think about it. We'll be here, most of us.
Okay.
Did any of your friends make it through the green door?
No, not as of
Did
yet.
anybody else try?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do
the
you
count
guys
at?
keep up your membership?
Well, so a lot of people come into Absalom Station. Many of them sort of looking for life, things to do, and what better way than, at least in my opinion, this is a pitch I use and it works on some, what better way to live than to die spectacularly trying something cool?
Wow.
If it works out, you have a story to
Words
tell.
to die by.
And if it doesn't work out, well, it doesn't matter to you, does it?
If I was going to die, being spaghetti would be pretty intense way to die.
That's what Hewley thought too.
I sort of hunch down and put a hand on their shoulder and look in my eye. How bad do you think it hurts?
You immediately like sort of stops his persona. I don't want to think about it really.
But it will be the last thing.
I'm going to kind of go in and I'm going to be like, I try not to entice him. He's a little bit depressed.
How bad do you think it hurts?
You know what? I don't think I want to be a crew on your ship.
I imagine
I
Thurgood
could
actually
probably
holding
make
a
it
cup
feel
of something.
really good before the hurt comes.
Sorry for the trouble. Never mind.
Catch you later, pal.
Bye, Maku.
Bye! Mr. Thurgood, it's good to be alive, okay?
Oh yeah,
You've
no.
saved
I
lots
just.
of people, and we really like having you around because you're
Oh
a
yeah,
really
no.
nice
I
friend.
just invited him to think on the pain of mortality.
Yeah, to be fair, he probably just saved some more people.
Mm-hmm.
If they're thinking about how
Big
bad it
hero.
hurts, they're not going to run through that portal now.
It looks like they died pretty quick. I don't
Yep.
think it hurt that much.
I don't know.
They
You
just
can't know
were
unless you
spaghetti.
experience it, and it's a kind of a one-way road.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered a career as a life coach?
That was a brief dalliance. Did that once. Anyway, Thurgood's been sort of kind of single track. Like
Almost.
if there's been
Yeah.
anything, he's just been a few steps ahead when Maku was.
Maku has probably climbed onto him a little bit.
At some point.
Cannot keep up.
All right.
Successfully back aboard the Gant.
Mhm.
Sort of making your way to the bridge. You find yourself in that sort of communal seating area that is shared behind the captain's console. And you can sort of sit and wait a little bit and figure out what you want to do going forwards. You got a couple hours to kill, hopefully, before First Seeker U gets here with some formal invitations. But what do you guys want to do?
Hey, Percival.
Look.
Find any
Yes.
buyers for the junk we got back there?
Why is it not alphabetical order? It absolutely should be in alphabetical order. There we go. Yes, absolutely. The best place to sort of offload a great deal of scrap would be Gru's bottomless barrel of odds and bobs.
Great.
That sounds like such an
Nice.
exciting place to go.
It seems like it. Very good reviews, it would seem. Gives good price per pound.
I got several thousand of those.
Yeah. How many pounds did we end up having?
You have, well, I guess, be like 50 tons worth of stuff. You got 2 cargo holds equivalent. Or 25 tons per.
There you go.
Yeah, I think we could do some interesting stuff with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that sort of above table, mechanically speaking, if you were to go sell this stuff, what you're essentially getting are build points
Right.
for your
Okay.
ship to be allowed to do things like modifications. And in this case, this guy is saying he'll pay in build points, not actual currency. Okay?
Yeah.
Just so we're all clear on that.
Mr. Percival,
Yes.
would they also have a new setup for our friend Nival to try to fly the ship? We need to modify it a little bit. Or do we have to go somewhere else?
You might need to go somewhere else, but perhaps Gru can aid you in that way. Maybe. I'm sure he has connections. I can also look up shipyards if you would like.
Cool.
And Doc, I did find some information on you, perhaps. You have a very distant relative here.
That makes sense.
Yeah, she goes by Diamond and runs Diamond Defense and Surplus.
Hey.
Nice.
So, at least from my understanding, it's a shop that strangely commands a presence in a more affluent area of the Absalom station, despite having very little for sale.
Well, that's not suspicious at all.
Definitely not.
Not at all.
But perhaps it's a place that could be investigated. You could go speak to your long lost 47th cousin, twice removed.
That side of the family was always a little bit sketchy. High class, but sketchy.
That's kind of sketchy.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Doc, why do people talk to the people that they are shared DNA with? That's pretty normal for lots of species. I don't really understand why though.
I don't quite understand that either.
It's very cool to have friends, and I know lots of them live together for a long time.
There's generally an expectation that, depending on the species, the closeness of the family, they will be willing to help you in any way.
They're like really good friends.
Yeah, essentially. Who kind of have to help you.
They're like obligated to be your friend?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I don't have anybody that's obligated to be my friend. I don't know if it would be good to have to be obligated to be a friend. It sounds very entrapping.
It can be.
You can see Maku's just going down like kind of like now.
Yeah, Maku, there's a saying usually that you don't get to pick your family, among species that have families. But, it goes up and down, eh? But it's usually worth it in the end.
Do you have family?
Of course.
Oh.
And come out of a cloning vat. Thank the gods.
You came out of a cloning
No, I
vat?
didn't. I didn't.
Oh, you
Be
did
very.
not come out
I would
of
be
a
a very different person if I had.
Cool.
Mhm.
Do you have a family or were you built?
I did come out of a cloning vat. Thank the gods.
So do you consider your other clones your family?
Well, it's different for androids. We're not quite built and we're not quite made, and there might have been another android in this body before, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't the case for me.
So you don't have family?
I don't have family. All androids are kind of my family, but at the same time, we're not family at all.
Do you have a family?
I don't have a family, but I have a creator.
Do you think of him as your family?
No.
Is he bad?
No.
Is he a friend?
No.
Oh. What about you? Do you have a family?
I think we need to talk about the situation here and what we're doing next. Before we start making modifications to this ship, I think we're all really interested in this proposal with the Starfinder Society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I would like to find stars.
But I think there's a bigger discussion that needs to happen. I know you didn't want us to hear that conversation there, Thurgood, but I think the rest of us need to know what's going on before we make any decisions here.
Well, I mean, I said it out clearly enough before, I think. If you want to keep me on the crew, then we have to go to Apostate first. Unfortunately. It's not what I want. It is Synthetico twisting my arm again. But if we're going to jump into the drift for the next, couple weeks, then I need to go to Apostate. I don't have a choice.
Do you have a timeline?
3 weeks. 3 weeks or bust. Doc, you're a smart guy, but
Do you think they'd know if I scanned? If I scanned you?
No, I don't know. I think you would probably honestly know better than me if that posed a risk to you. I'm willing to try, believe me.
All right. I'm gonna scan them.
Sure. So you start the process of scanning Thurgood Vale and discover a couple of things. And I'm actually going to let Jesse
Oh boy.
let you know what you find in your sort of anatomical scale
Sure.
or scanning.
So the first thing that probably comes up is scar tissue, right? So there's the visible scar tissue above the collar of his business casual bear shirt. And then it continues a fair way sort of down his chest and sort of spider webbing across the left-hand side of his body, sort of ending around the torso. There's little sort of micro fragments of metal still like embedded in it. It's probably like a shrapnel or probably a shrapnel wound of some kind from an explosive force. But sort of beneath that, there's several organs that have been outright replaced. I think one of his lungs, a kidney, the entirety of his heart, the entirety of his lymphatic system has all been scarred and then attached where necessary to bionics. And the scar tissue isn't like completely, the scar tissue, at least in the skin, is sort of completely healed over, but where it's in the organs, it's like fresh, almost as if it's constantly being reformed over and over again. There seems to be some sort of cyclical eating, and Thurgood would probably show up as infected with something as well. some sort of very aggressive disease that is contained, but not obliterated.
Gotcha.
It's sort of in this constant loop that is accelerated by this very like thin trickle of some sort of steroid that's sort of being injected into his lymphatic system throughout the body. And also, as an uplifted bear, also as a part of this system, there is something that's sort of attached to his brainstem, and you would register that as giving him like very basic psionic telepathic speech.
Okay. And then around your heart,
Mm-hmm.
was that the part that was talking about the exploding?
Or
Or is it more of just if they shut it off,
it's a whole integrated system, and if anything is messed with, it seems very interconnected.
Okay.
Like inextricable. Like you would need a team of like 20 surgeons maybe, and like 5 days.
or a bunch of programmed nanites? Okay. Yeah, we're not getting that out anytime soon. That's the end of that one.
Well, you're screwed. Got it.
Okay.
I do want at some point though, probably I want to try to get as much info on the steroid that's being injected though.
Certainly, yeah. So you get to essentially take 20 with your thing, right? Your lab kit.
Yep.
So what you have learned, and Thurgood's also learning now for the first time, is actually the system itself is using your own biology to produce this steroid. Essentially, it's using your own chemicals to synthesize and force them into a more concentrated, sort of a concentrated solution that would normally be like waste byproduct. But in this case, it's used to somehow keep you alive. But if the balance is skewed in any way, shape, or form, you're absolutely right. Your whole body will just collapse and stop working. You also definitely understand that it is accessible remotely by people who need to or want to. So it's entirely possible that if the wrong sort of QR code is scanned, it could upset the balance from far away. So it's not even that there's a reservoir inside him that has this chemical. It's bioengineered to use himself to keep himself alive and potentially kill him.
Right.
If needed.
And there's like some kind of transceiver in there somewhere. Okay.
So, Doc, is that what's making Thurgood, or is that something extra?
What are you asking? I was conscious and an independent thinker before this was installed in me, that's for sure. I grew up among uplifted bears. We got a whole deal going on in Chelisad, where I grew up.
Wow.
But no, this is a
special gift.
Special gift, a war injury, and the gift wasn't the injury itself, but the ongoing solution. Boy, how much more do you want to know? We're gonna sit here for a while.
Okay.
But we don't have to.
I'll pause it. Well, we need to figure out though the balance here, the trade-off.
That's true.
But, so,
Well,
Figure
death.
I
or
think we
death.
can do both.
well, context, if you don't mind.
Oof. Okay. So we do have time. All right. So I was built, correct? I was built as a part of the Turney Corporation, which I was under the impression is no longer in existence, which is the only reason you now see me. So the Turney Corporation, Toko, full transparency, and none of you should know this, but is a gladiator ring and or dogfighting and or battle bots. I was created and designed as a part of that and one of the champions of that. Things got stale, people didn't want to watch it anymore, so rules changed and were upgraded. As a part of that, I became obsolete. As a part of that, I don't believe my creator would want me anymore, and I'd be better for scrap than anything. So I left. It's as simple as that. That's been quite some time, I suppose. I don't really have a good context of time as we traveled planet to planet, as Toko moves planet to planet to avoid authorities, because it's, illegal. even then I didn't have a good sense of time, but after I ran, I hid for a very long time. Years, decades, hundreds of years, very long time. And I only came out when I was absolutely sure that my creator and Toko would both be gone. So we could go there, and it could be perfectly fine. Maybe I've actually been forgotten. Anyone who was a part of it may be shut down, but it would be highly unlikely given who I was, I suppose.
What if we put you in like a disguise?
Just looks down at herself, like looks back at her. Possibly, but that's like putting sunglasses on a celebrity.
You have a lot of scrap metal down in the bottom.
I'm perfectly willing. I think we would be more likely to have me survive than Thurgood if we don't go. But it could mean a fight if we do.
Well, that's what I mean. Thinking like a TV producer here, if somebody out of Toko's past reappeared, right? That would be huge. That would be delicious entertainment.
Yes, it would, of course.
To be clear, I hate the concept. But thinking like the kind of people who, you know, hold my switchboard, they would love to see you again.
One of your heels return. Oh.
Yeah.
How long?
Why do you assume I'm a heel?
Well, at this point, you would be.
Yeah.
How long were they shut down for?
You've never heard of them. None of you have
Years,
ever
decades.
even heard of the company.
A very long time.
Not pre-Gap, surely.
A very long time.
Pre-Gap, possibly.
My concern is if I'm forced to fight, I was obsolete for a reason. I wouldn't win.
Unless, of course, it was heavily produced.
Now, what if Thurgood's manager can like protect you like Thurgood does?
You don't want that person's help.
I don't trust Thurgood's manager.
No.
I also don't like the idea of you getting into it at all, because getting out again would...
Yeah, I'm not fighting.
No.
Why don't you stay on the ship?
I can do that.
It could be as simple as I go down, I produce some dog shit television for a day or two, and then I come back up.
I mean, we do have a
nobody
little
has to get
shuttle.
involved. Yeah, I can pilot it by myself. Wouldn't be a problem.
I mean, you've piloted the whole thing. You can pilot the whole thing. We could send somebody down with you. I mean, one of us could come down with you.
Yeah, Mr.
even
Doc
three of
or
us.
me could fit in there with you probably.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Is it
I
just
think
a
we
one
need
person
Maku
or
on
two
the
person?
ship to make sure the computers don't go awry or anything. Like, yeah?
Well, I'm sure Maku and I could fit with Thurgood down there.
I'm sure you could fit.
I don't think it would be a problem.
Okay.
I mean,
I think it would be really cool to see the planet.
I mean, I won't begrudge you, and I think the company would be helpful. Helpful to have your company, but the Gant is not a stealth, a stealth fighter or whatever.
Well, how far can that little ship make it? Can we go far in that little ship?
No.
So we have to be in orbit probably.
You said that he listed off like 15 planets.
Yeah, at least.
Apostate didn't happen to be one of them.
It did not.
Okay.
I have an idea. You said that this was like a sport, right?
Yes.
Well, then wouldn't there just be a bunch of ships there anyway to come look at the sport that you're going to be reporting on? Like, who would really, like, they don't know that you are going to be on the ship. We're just a regular ship coming to see this event thing.
Regular.
Considering it's illicit, it is not an advertised thing, and their security as to who lands and why would be much higher.
We have Thurgood.
Correct.
We have media pass.
Yeah.
We do have a media pass.
See, so we're just like helping him. We're just like his, what do you call them, like roadies? That's like pull his stuff.
His hype crew.
Yeah.
I mean, Synthetico knows he's traveling with us. They know what vessel he's on.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they may know that Nival is with us too.
Well,
Correct.
Nigel can be distracted or hidden.
Have you heard of this N2 or of Blue?
No, I do not recognize those names at all, and I hope the other companions that I do know are all right.
There were more like you.
Oh, absolutely. There were 5 of us that were considered the S tier rank.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 6 including myself.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, Nival, I mean, considering where you were when the transmission came through, right? I mean, there's really no hope of anonymity.
I was out of the line of sight.
Scanners are scanners.
Yeah, true.
I don't know.
I'm fine with going, but I suppose I want to point out the extreme irony of hiding in a cave for decades, only to then turn around and go to the exact place I was trying to avoid.
Well, we could like leave you here, and then come back and get you.
I don't know.
Maybe you and Doc can find his little family. I say little, but they're probably bigger than me.
Diamonds. See what Diamond's about.
Probably.
Yeah, if we're going to stick together, I'm amiss to split the party.
I wonder why.
So, in order to take the Gant on this journey, we likely need to come to an agreement with the Starfinder Society first.
Yes.
I want to throw in with them.
Yeah.
I think we're being given an opportunity to do something good and meaningful, and I see no downsides, at least not yet. I mean, retaining our independence, sure, but to do what, right?
It's more independence than most of us have had.
Yeah.
I've had lots of independence.
And you turned out great, Mom. Really? No, really, you all. I mean it.
It's like almost a backhanded compliment that turns into a nice pat on the back.
Yeah.
You turned out great. Yeah, you did.
I will also add that if we go to Apostate first and I face this head on, then really I'll either be dead or completely free to follow the Starfinder.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I don't mean to accelerate things for you, but presumably you would like to, if waiting didn't do it, then this is the next best thing.
I
right?
was hoping they would not be back. And I would like to know what happened to my companions.
You haven't kept in touch with any of them?
I haven't kept in touch with anyone.
Well, like, we could ask them questions and pretend it's for Darba's interview.
Honestly, not the worst gambit. If you give me names that I need to look for, I can find them under the guise of journalism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Journalism. Yeah. It could be an opportunity. I was anxious about it, but only because I was seeing it, in a vacuum without the thought of having backup, which is nice.
Well, I guess we have our answer for you then. We need to sell the scrap. We need to get the weapons mounted on this ship.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly going into this, we're not going in with the slapped together weapons we've got on board now. And we're going to see about getting a chair for you to try and pilot this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Other than that, is there anything? Well, I guess we should see how many credits we get first and then see if there's anything else we want to do to the ship.
Well, we won't get any credits for the scrap. Probably not anyway. That's not the way that it usually works. But we could sell the honey.
I mean,
It's
build
kind of
points.
like
We
a
could sell the
gift
honey.
card.
We could sell the coordinates to the jet fuel
Yes.
thing. Find a seedy pilot's bar or Merc place. They love that shit. And yeah, I mean, with those profits, maybe we can gear up a little better, be a little bit ready to go into the Viper's Den. So, deal with Apostate. Suit up here. Deal with Apostate. Head to Dimipi. And accept the hand that's being extended to us.
Yep.
And as if to speak to that, Percival appears in the middle of the chamber. My apologies for interrupting, but you're being hailed. It seems as if the first seeker is on approach, near Fardock as we speak, and will be here presently. If it's okay with you, and I understand if it's not, I would like to not be here when he arrives.
I was going to suggest as much. We have some questions for you after this.
Well, of course, and I would love to answer them. So for the time being, in fact, he puts up on the screen right now, you can see coming down the airlock is the first seeker, holding a little box in tow. He's here soon, and I'm going to software update one more time, if that's okay with everybody. Excellent. See you all shortly.
All right.
Sort of disappears. And sure enough, a couple seconds later, there's not a knock on the door, but a little sensor chimes that says there is someone here to greet you. And looking through your security camera, you can see it's the first seeker standing outside the main airlock. Who's gonna go get him?
CB2, you're doing a great job.
The door swings open, and forearms still red clothing / armor. First seeker you is there. And as soon as he opens, well met.
And I speak Kasathan as well, so I'll greet him in Kasathan. Welcome aboard, first seeker. Come this way, please.
Good to see someone who speaks my common tongue.
I spent most of my youth, as it were, around the Kasathans.
You will have a long and storied career among the Starfinders, should you accept. Of course. Where's the rest of your crew?
They're at the bridge.
Excellent, then. Lead the way. A moment later, because it's only a few feet
It's
away.
like 10 feet away.
10 feet away. You all emerge, the two of them emerge into the bridge. First Seeker looks at you all. Well, it's been not nearly as long as I said, maybe an hour or two, but I have spoken with the Forum. I've spoken with, well, many other members of the Starfinder Society, and we have all come into agreement. You should absolutely be offered a position and place within the Starfinder Society. So I would like to formally extend that hand. What that entails for you is a great deal of information when requested, a place to repair and refit your ship, room and board inside the Lower Spire complex whenever you are here, as well as safe harbor in any of our wayfarer lodges, wherever you may find one in the vastness of space, wherever one of our free captains tend to be. Of course, it does have some requirements on prospective members. You will need to, on occasion, find things, go on missions, come back with information for us, as you already have. You've already done more for the Starfinder Society in the brief afternoon that I've known you than many accomplished captains manage in their whole career. It's all about really what you find, not so much how much you find. This information of the Terraformate and of Raidmaker and this hive consciousness is honestly enticing and incredibly fascinating to us. It's not nearly as commonplace as a collection of minerals or even a new species being calculated for the first time. This is above that. You've already done some incredible things, and after speaking with the Forum and having some thought and, well, thinking of the ship you are on, I think it is almost necessary to not only invite you into the Starfinders, but to give you a special name, title, term. Manifester Kurgat was a cognifier before. The Gant was a ship that belonged to these cognifiers, and I think it would be an homage to give you the same name. You could become the first cognifiers of the Starfinder Society since before the gap even occurred. If you accept. If you want to be brought within the fold, you'll be granted some more autonomy than most. And that's simply by virtue of what you brought. That is the way the society works. It's a meritocracy. Bring good information, get more reward. Solve bigger problems, get more time off. If you're looking for that sort of sense of loose community, there's a place for you within the society. I know I said you'd have a great deal of time to speak of it, but have you spoken already? And are you comfortable, potentially as a group, making a decision? I see one very eager nod.
I believe that collectively, certainly, we were eager to join, but you may have just handed us a solution. At the same time, we have some personal issues amongst a couple members of our crew that we need to deal with before we could join, but if you're extending us a certain amount of autonomy, I believe we can do both at the same time.
Yes, Tazarfir did calm briefly before he tried to, re-interface with the infosphere you brought. It sent him spiraling once again. Hysteria 7 thinks it might take him several days to even make any real headway. So if you need days, you have it. Beyond that, it might be a bit harder pressed, but, well, as cognifiers, you'll have more freedom. I'm sure we can work something out.
I believe we can. I think I speak for all of us that we will take on this mantle. I'm going to be honest, cool extra name. Big plus for me. I like that cognifier Veil. Hell yeah.
It comes with some other perks. You can choose to, if you want, although I would suggest not, renaming the ship, although the Gant, I think, should hold a space in history. But it comes with uniforms, badges, extra equipment.
This guy's speaking my language.
In fact, as part of this, the official sort of hand extension into the society, I have already brought one accoutrement with me now. And if you've all accepted, and he does make like locked eye contact with each of you, if you've all accepted a status, a position within the society, I can present to you your Starfinder badge now.
Let it be done.
With collective uses, I actually have badges.
I'm just over here sitting, like, watch everybody say they don't want to, and I just spent like a week painting these.
So, opening the very fancy box that he'd been carrying in his sort of lower set of arms the entire time, he opens it up and you can see on display in a little felt shadow box, essentially, a series of 6 badges, as if they probably have different sizes boxes for different size crew, but this one's just for you guys. So I actually want to formally invite you all to the Starfinder Society by handing these out. Pass them down.
Pass them down. Hell yeah.
Cool. And then you can just pass these ones on. I got an extra one here just so I can look at it.
Cool.
I'll show it up to the camera, everybody. So anyone who's watching at home, check these out. These are real cool.
Nice.
Easily found on Thingiverse and 3D printable. Wonderfully painted by Maku over in the corner there. Thank you very much for doing so.
You are very welcome.
And it's a little memento to welcome you all into the Starfinder Society.
Matches my outfit.
It does.
Matches CV2's outfit.
Yeah, not so much yours, but certainly CV2's. So with that, you're sort of officially accepted into the Starfinder Society, although there's paperwork that needs to be done, there's life insurance needs to be filled out. All that rigmarole can happen in the intervening days and weeks before you take the Gant to possibly be refit, as you so desire, and maybe head off to Apostate in the near future. But before all that happens, the First Seeker does, after it's sort of a unceremonious ceremony where he essentially just hands you your guys' badges. Again, it's all about merit. Not so much on the showiness of it. If you take your ship to Puddles, take the Gant to Puddles, we have a very adept ship worker who can, at the very least, retrofit what you need done to the Gant as best we can, at least within reason, and reasonably quickly. And by then, hopefully, Tazafir will have some information, some knowledge he would have gleaned from the infosphere, and if not, then you're more than free to go about your business until we have information for you. So if you're willing to stick around for just a couple of days, at the very least to give him a chance. But if he makes no headways, then you're free to go wherever you need to or want to handle your own personal affairs. Does that seem like a good enough deal to you? We're rather informal here.
Absolutely.
We have a couple of days,
Yeah. Excellent. Then, is there anything I can do for you now, I suppose, before I go about my duties for the rest of the evening?
Ship this size, we may need some crew. Any suggestions on places to look for reliable crew members?
It depends. If you want reliability, you need to go to SecRes. It's the Security Resources Pavilion here on Absalom Station. It's the best place to find guns for hire, or crew, or hands for hire. They will, and I mean will, be the best bang for your buck. If you pay them, they will do the job. Now, there are places under the Spike, for example, you might be able to find some, we'll say, less official employees who may be willing to work for less, but might not also work all that well. If that makes any sense to you. SecRes is definitely the place to go. We do a lot of recruiting there ourselves, finding people who show merit. That would be my best guess for you. It depends on what kind of crew you're looking for, I suppose. And more specifically, the Fortress of Hant is a local haunt that is known for where we get our more adventurous types. So perhaps start there.
Is that a drinking establishment of some kind?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm there. Very well. Well, I believe we've impressed on your time enough in the past. I mean, it's been valuable information, but unless there's anything else, I think we can let you go on your way for a seeker. We understand.
Of course. Anytime you're in Absalom Station or even in the Lower Spire complex, you can call upon me. You're cognifiers, not Starfinders.
Hell yeah.
I'm here when you need me.
Fabulous.
And with that, then I suppose I'll take my leave for the day and leave you to it. The Puddles, he sort of like points as if he's pointing in a direction, but Puddles is easy to find, and if the ship needs retrofitting, that's where it should go.
Very well.
At least if you want it done on our dime.
I think we did.
Yes.
I
Definitely
think that's
do.
the first place it's going.
Yes.
Right, and he gives a bit of a curt bow and makes his way off of your ship. What do you guys want to do?
Go to Puddles.
Let's go, Puddles.
Yeah. Pilot our way from one spoke
One
to
spot to
another.
the other.
It's
You're
literally like
drifting
moving to the next parking spot over.
around. You're going. It's a bit farther than that, but yes, you're drifting to the other place to get the ship retrofitted.
Back out and then it just
Yeah.
spins around and
Yeah,
then pull back in.
exactly.
Basically, yes. But with that, we're actually going to be nearing the spot where we're going to be ending the session, getting accepted into the Starfinder Society and making these plans. So, I guess I actually do want to officially end the session, but ask you guys more unofficially, what do you guys want to do going forwards? I know there's some talk about refitting the ship, maybe going to Aposte, sticking around to see if Tazafir comes up with anything good or not. What are you guys thinking?